Hello and welcome to the Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we've got a few of what we hope are interesting subjects to talk about with you guys in the chat and those watching us on playback. I shall start by welcoming my guests. I'll start at the bottom with Brad. Brad, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's Friday night. I'm always good on a Friday. We're end of the working week and all that sort of stuff.
And Ian, who's been a bit of a regular recently on the show. How are you, Ian?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Good to be back.
Mod Mark, how are you?
All is good, Adrian. Good evening to everybody. Big up the panel.
Yeah, and I'm fine as well. I want to start with the latest Premier League PR blunder regarding Leicester City Football Club. Ian, have you heard about this?
I know that they've got away with it, but I don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah, so not much. Brad, what more do you know much about this or what?
Only that they got found not guilty or they've got away with it. But I don't really, clubs like Leicester City or Nottingham Forest or Everton, if they get away with it, fair play to them, really. I don't really think that it's the clubs like Man City and Chelsea, which maybe we might talk about later, that the ones that actually win stuff and flagrantly break the rules, they're the ones that should be charged. I mean, the clubs like Leicester or whoever it might be, I don't really think that it should be that much with them than the bigger clubs.
Yeah. Mark, do you know much about this?
No, I honestly, I heard they got away with it, but the ins and outs of it, I don't know.
Apparently, they found a way to backdate their finances. And on a technicality, they were guilty, but they were bang to rights guilty and would definitely have received a points deduction. Probably not a massive one, but they would have received one. And apparently, listening to Talk Shite Radio, you know what I mean, and them on there with Jim White and co. You know, I don't doubt them there that they know this more about this than we do, and they were saying the Premier League have spent multi-millions. We're talking tens of millions on legal cases now, haven't they? You know.
Yeah.
My concern with this is this. I don't want this to be leveraged by Man City and Chelsea, so they can dig themselves out a hole. Are you concerned? I mean, guys, are you concerned about this and our football in general and the corruption? I mean, we know there's corruption there. You've got to prove it to say it's there, but we know it's corrupt, don't we? Ian?
Oh.
Allegedly. Everything allegedly, guys.
Allegedly.
I think, to be honest with you, a subject like this, I'd have to know the law and everything inside out before making a comment.
I'll give you some info in a bit. Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ian. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the laws and how it works, but to be honest, when you look at football and you think that anyone from, say, the Middle East or America or Russia, where it might be, can suddenly pump billions and billions of pounds into a club and take them from nowhere to winning everything, there's got to be something wrong with that, really. I mean, it might not legally be wrong, but surely there must be some sort of fair play. And look, you're always going to get rich and poor clubs. That's the way of the world. But in recent years, since Chelsea got taken over by Abramovich, it's just become now that if you have loads and loads of money, you can win anything. I mean, look at Blackburn Rovers. They went from nothing to winning the Premiership because they had a guy who put lots of money into it.
Yeah, Jack Warner, wasn't it? Jack Warner, I think it was.
Jack Warner, yeah. Jack Walker. Now, I'm not saying that that's wrong. What I'm saying is that's fine. But when it gets to a situation where you've got literally countries buying teams, just basically for their own plaything, there's something wrong there. There's something wrong.
We're all working to the same rules, aren't we? They're PSR, FFP, whatever you want to call them. The rules are there for everybody. But hang on. The richest club in the world is Newcastle, and they nearly sold Anthony Gordon because of FFP. They ended up by selling the boy, was it Minter, to Brighton.
The thing is,
to avoid a problem. And this is the richest. So if you're talking about state clubs, you could include Newcastle in that bracket technically. That's so. For me, the problem is we have owners who don't want to go the whole way. So it's frustrating from that point of view. If other clubs, Chelsea have stretched everything within the laws. They're buying players and giving them 8-year contracts.
Yeah.
So everything's amortized down by 8 rather than 5 or 4 or 2.
That's been done away with now, though, hasn't it?
Yeah. I'll come to Chelsea in a minute. Alan, welcome, Alan. Hello,
gentlemen. How are you?
I don't know if you heard about the Leicester situation, them getting off the hook.
I did. I read about that.
All right. You got an opinion on it, obviously?
Maybe it feels a little bit like a technicality because they got relegated that season. But I guess it was PSR, right? It was the PSR rules. It really wasn't Leicester. It was the rules that were in place. They were just a victim of that.
So my understanding is that they somehow were able to backdate their financial year, and they got off on a technicality. They were guilty. They would have had a points deduction. It might not have been a massive one, but I mean, they would have faced one. But due to a technicality, so this is the tribunal that went to the Premier League, and the Premier League said we're very disappointed with the outcome. Yeah, they're going to say that anyway, right? But they're their rules, right? I mean, the Premier League, to me, they're a shambles with their rules as far as I'm concerned. They're an absolute disgrace, really. And I think their legal team should be sacked if they've got one, unless they just franchise that out when they need one. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And that's just how it is with contracts. I think with contracts, you need good lawyers who know how to draw up contracts and make them airtight. And if there are loopholes in place, then they're there to be exploited. And it just means that the teams that know how to exploit them hired better lawyers. I can't really blame Leicester for doing what was technically still within the rules. If they violated a rule that was airtight, that would be one thing. And we'll see with Manchester City coming up next month how that's going to go. But even then, if there are rules to be exploited, that's how Chelsea got out of it, right? They sold hotels to one of their other.
I'm not sure it's been sold to Alan, actually. I'm not. I will come to them. I will come.
Okay.
Let's not kid ourselves. This is not a football problem. This is a world problem. This happens everywhere. If you're rich,
in anything,
you can get away with stuff. Look at the tax laws. If I don't pay £100 in my tax, they're going to come after me. If I don't pay £1 million in tax, they're not. It's just the way of the world, and you can call me a lefty socialist if you like, but it's just the way the world goes at the moment. So if Leicester City can find lawyers and get them off of this, do we not think that Manchester City or Chelsea can?
They're different cases, though.
Well, what I was just hearing, and I tend to agree. If the Spurs, which I believe Spurs have, probably Levy would have great lawyers, if they're not exploiting the rules to the benefit as best they can for Spurs, then are we really doing everything that we should be doing? You know, like, if we could get away with the stuff that Chelsea, Leicester, Man City are doing, and if it's all technically within the rules, even if it is a loophole, we should be, because the other teams are doing it, right? We're not doing everything other than keeping a profit and saying we're profitable. But what does that mean for this football squad? It means nothing.
Levy, whether you love him or hate him, or you're somewhere in between, he's been pushing hard, to say, like, this is unfair. He would like to see a more level playing field and like to see the rules enforced, because we've stayed within the rules, right? With regards to Man City, my understanding of those 115 charges, most of them relate around they're being sponsorship by their owners, own companies, for like money that is, you're taking the piss, really, because what you're giving the club money that no other club gets, these sort of lucrative sponsorship deals, because you're doing it just to put money into the club. So and Man City's answer when they tried, we never got nothing from the court case, did we? They were going to court during a transfer window or whatever about on the Monday to sort of fight it might have got put back, the case, so we don't know. But I mean, like, to fight the Premier League on the grounds of, like, this is restrictive trading, this goes against fair trading under rules that, UK law or even ex-European law or things like that. And we never heard the outcome on that. And their 115 charges are basically about, like, money coming into the club too much, And when you get done, you usually get done for the rule that you've gained an unfair advantage in winning trophies or winning football games and all that. Now, the bit on Chelsea, to me, the bit that really got me going was before Chelsea were ever involved, right, in any rumours about them, and they haven't even faced a charge, 15 charges, right? Abramovich, right, applied for British citizenship, and the government turned him down. Governments do not turn down citizenship to people that come into this country, rich oligarchs that pump hundreds of millions of pounds into the economy, right, buying up property all around London, right, which is what's happened with Russian oligarchs, right? And you don't refuse them citizenship. Usually you end up in the House of Lords, don't you, or you get a knighthood, right? It's true, though. So it doesn't happen. And this was before all the Chelsea's charges run deep. I mean, there were two articles that I read. They're not papers I would normally read. One was the Guardian, and one was the Times. So they're pretty reputable papers, whether you lean their way politically or not, right? And they were both going on about the fact that a woman in Chelsea, one of the executives, was given millions of pounds through the club to finance the buying of property. There's also been the rumours about when Willian was nicked off of us when we were trying to sign him from Spurs, that the money was paid for an offshore company. There's rumours that there's been two sets of accounts which weren't declared, so that would be a criminal offence, right, with the customs and excise and tax and all that, where there was like two sets of books because players were being paid from two separate sources, right? So it sounds like part of their wages was coming, part cash, part in your hand sort of thing, you'd say in that building trade, like, and all that. And it doesn't stop there. And the thing is, Todd Bowley has admitted to his offences, a bit like when Sugar took over in Spurs in 94, and he admitted to payments to Clive Allen, Mitchell Thomas, someone else, but they declared those payments to the tax office at the time, Spurs did, and we got done. I mean, Alan will probably remember. You might remember, Brad, as well. You might even remember it yourself, Mark. I mean,
yeah, I do.
And we got fined, and we were facing bankruptcy because we owned millions. So we got deducted 12 points. Were kicked out the FA Cup, right? And were fined £1.5 million, which it seems like peanuts now, but it was a massive amount of money back then, right? Prior to these inflationary days we've been through. Sugar took to court. He got the points taken away. He got us reinstated in the cup, but we still got fined 750,000, I think it was, which is still a lot of money,
Mm.
And even a lot of clubs around the country said Spurs' punishment was harsh, you know. But the thing that gets me, when Arsenal were done, right? When Arsenal were done, nothing happened over the George Graham scandal, and he was rumoured to have received over six-figure sums of undeclared 600 odd grand in a Channel Islands bank account, guys. Right? He first die was over the Brombury sale of Jensen. It went through the agent Rennie Hawke or whatever it was, and Graham got that figure, which he later said, "Oh, it was an unsolicited gift." Yeah, right. You know what I mean? And eventually he got sacked. But then the taxman went after him for not just a six-figure then, which is rumoured to be around the 100 grand mark, but somehow he had not declared 600 odd grand in his taxes. So where did he get the other money for? It must be from other deals, because it weren't from doing a private job on a Sunday painting someone's house. You know what I mean? So
the big house.
And the thing was, it all got swept under the carpet. Why? Well, it just so happens that David Dean was vice chairman of Arsenal, but he was also vice chairman of the FA.
Mm.
The same happened with West Ham. Do you remember Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
United got relegated, and West Ham had to pay a fine. It was like, oh, we can't. West Ham, they supplied free players, and Ron Greenwood and West Ham and Arsenal have always had very close association with the FA. Whether they've got it now, I don't know in this year, but they did then, and they got off light. Spurs got absolutely busted, right? And since then, Arsenal got done on that what's name deal, that agent deal for the centre back. They got him from Southampton. Oh, someone in the chat, help us out here if you know the centre back's name. Can't remember. They got done by using their incorrect, and they said, "Oh, it was an incorrect thing, a typo." Swept it under the carpet. They got a 60 grand fine. 60 grand fine for using an unlicensed agent, basically. If that had been Spurs, you can imagine what we'd have got, right? And to me, all this goes back. I mean, like, it just sticks in my craw. I mean, but going back to Abramovich, I mean, I think Chelsea. I mean, everybody keeps saying to me they're going to get off. I don't like it when something like that happens with Leicester, in case it gets leveraged, because all these cases should be treated separately. But the case against Man City depends if they win, if they can, you know, if they get away with it over UK law, fault trading and all that. It virtually means that all these clubs can spend what they want. It means Newcastle will be able to spend what they want. And my argument would be, I'm not a lawyer, did a little bit of it, long time ago. You join a club, tennis club, football club, working men's club, whatever it is, you abide by the rules. The rules were all right when Man City were winning things the right way under Pellegrini and Man City it was in the past. So the same rules should be, they signed up for these rules. So to me, you abide by them, unless they say, well, the rules aren't compatible with English law, they're not valid or something like that. You know what I mean? Comments, guys?
Well, if you look at Man City fans, if someone says to them, okay, that's it, you're relegated to the Championship or whatever, do you think Man City fans are going to really care? It's going to be like, well, we've won all that stuff. So, you know, we've celebrated it. You know, we've been out there on the streets. You know, and if Man City get relegated and Chelsea get relegated and we win the title, what's it going to look for us? It's going to be like, well, okay, won the title. Oh, but Man City and Chelsea were in there.
I'd love it, personally. I would love it.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. Two things I want to say. One, if that happened and we won the title, I'll be dancing in the streets.
Yeah.
Two, if a multi-billionaire came and bought Tottenham, we bought millions of players and we won the title, I'd be dancing in the streets as well. So, you know, they'd be out there.
I mean, Ian, question to you. I don't make it too difficult, because we're all like, we all need more information. We need transparency around this subject to these teams and that. And especially around the new inaugurated football regulator. I mean, like, what powers would you expect a regulator to have here? And it's not an easy question, is it, anyway? You know?
Well, listen, Starmer seems to do what he wants these days. There's my answer as far as the regulator's concerned. So I don't see why the regulators should be any different. They say one thing in a manifesto and do another thing in reality. They're all on to themselves. So who knows what they'll do? Do I think it's a good thing? I think it's a very good, you know, I think potentially it is a good thing.
Yeah, I do as well.
I think the football regulator was brought in because there were certain things that were going on that weren't correct, and it's. I mean, we got sorted the away fans. The away fans ticket prices that got sorted, or I think the regulator could well have come in earlier than that. But they brought it in because I'm just trying to think. What were the problems that were going on? So I've had a mind blank.
It was basically corruption, not proper due diligence done on owners of clubs. I mean, Bury went skint, didn't they? And quite a few clubs have come close to going skint and have always been saved by a white knight at the last moment. And these clubs, the poorer clubs, are usually nearly gone skint over what they owe the tax man, haven't they? And things like that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was another reason that that people were looking at the regulator.
Yeah, it was due diligence. I think when you're letting new owners come in doing what they want. No, they know it's been corrupt. The game has been corrupt for years, but not on. But the scale of corruption has grown. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we'd all go to Spurs, right? Now, come on, we're not fools, right? We go to Spurs, we go for the Times, and they go, today's attendance is 30,368. And you know from experience of being a ground that there's over 40,000 in the stadium at the moment.
Yeah.
This is how when Sugar come and he said, well, it was like 40 grand in cash in one of the sites. They didn't know how they couldn't launder the money, obviously, unless they paid Brian Clough as part of the Teddy Sheringham deal, right? Which that stunk as well, didn't it? You know what I mean? So we all know back in the days that now it's all computerized. It's a bit different. You know, it is tighter that way regarding tickets. So, but
let's face it. Football's been corrupt for years. I mean, you only got to look at the Jimmy Greaves thing, because he was originally signing for Tottenham, and Jimmy Greaves even says this because I watched his it's like a sort of autobiography, but it's on YouTube somewhere, and he said, and he says on there like that a man turned up at his dad's house and give his dad £50 in white £5 notes, and so he signed for Chelsea.
That's not in the book. I've got to tell you, I'm reading the book now.
Yeah,
that's not in the book.
Is it not?
What he said was the Spurs manager at the time was ill for a few weeks, and had he not been ill, he would have signed instead of going to Chelsea. So he would have come to Spurs before Chelsea. And
but this is the time I'm on about. Well, on the program I watched, he said something on there, like a bloke turned up and give his dad like £50 in.
But Mark, what about Gaza? What about Gaza? What about Gaza? They bought his parents a house. Then he phoned them.
Well, yeah, exactly. They
bought his daughter a sunbed.
Well, there was
his sister a sunbed.
Yeah.
Back in the
it worked for us. It worked for us in the late 80s.
You have to remember the Greaves thing when he was scoring 40-odd goals for Chelsea, and like he was the Messi of his day. He went to Milan. We paid the maximum we could pay, which was 99,999.
No, it wasn't.
We got him off of Milan.
He said he did not want or Bill Nicholson said he did not want Jimmy to be the first £100,000 player to put pressure on him.
All right, and I stand corrected. I thought that was a rule.
No, that was on that.
Remember, there was actually a wage restraint back in the days as well before Jimmy Hill and all that.
There was a player in the 60s for Tottenham. I can't remember who it was, when there was just the maximum wage. And they basically said, well, we'll give you the maximum wage, but we'll employ you in the accounts department. So they gave him the extra money by saying he was working in the accounts.
I dare say they got around it in lots of ways then. Yeah, it's been interesting. We're a little bit off track, but it's interesting, you know. So, I mean, you've got a lot of the fan base throughout the country just think like these big clubs are just going to buy their way up because they've got the lawyers and all that. Well, they would try to. They would try to. It's not going to look bad. I'll be looking at this regulator then. You know,
I'll be honest with you. The
tribunal. Surely the regulator's entitled to see the evidence and to go through the case evidence, because that's part of their job. It's part of their remit, surely. So
I'll
then
be
they
honest with
go
you.
like, nah, you've been too lenient here. You know.
I'll be honest with you. I blame the Premier League for a lot of this, for not writing their rules so they're like watertight. If everyone can find loopholes in that, you know, then whoever wrote these rules in the first place didn't do a very good job.
Yeah.
If you can like just sort of by hook or by crook get round it somehow. I mean, I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know, but you know, if you're writing rules, then you've got to like proofread them and then get someone else to proofread them just to make sure there's no way out.
Maybe they're not strong enough, Mark.
Well, it sounds like it, doesn't it?
You need 2/3 to pass a rule, and apparently, this is what I got on one report today. So we'll see how this goes. At the end of this season, the clubs are going to vote again on this situation. Now, you know, it's all right for Man City and Newcastle, richest club on the planet, worth 36 billion, having all that money, but they still need to garner enough votes. And if there are 14 poorer clubs that think we're disadvantaged by you really taking the mick, being able to like buy your trophies and break the rules, and we can't compete on a fair level, then they're going to vote against them. They will vote against them. I think you'll get enough votes, but we'll see what they actually vote on, or if this even comes to pass. All right, go on.
Adrian, I meant to say earlier that when I lost my train of thought, the regulator was partly brought in to help fans and look after fans because of the way clubs are treating the fans.
Stop the Super League.
And that's right. And when you consider the price rises, ticket increases for this season, the fan advisory board were not even consulted by the club.
No,
that's wrong, isn't it?
No.
So it's still going on. It's still going on today.
And there's a big row now as well between clubs, because poorer clubs, I know Levy would like this. There's a big row on pricing tickets for these European games, home and away games. You know, we're getting charged 30 quid. I mean, I don't know if they're going to categorise these games, so the more important the games who go through the conference, the dearer the tickets are.
This is for away game. I mean, the away games have been capped, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been capped, and because the European Cup or the Champions League are the dearest tickets at 50. I think the next tickets down to the Europa League. This is for away fans are capped at about 30, and the conference is about 16 quid. You know, you should be paid 16 quid to go and watch a conference game, in my opinion.
Don't tell my fans that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another piece of news, right? Let's talk about Spurs' 23-man squad. Right now, I can name them for you. I mean, and we've got two missing: Reguilon and Spence. So we'll talk about those in a bit. But you've got Vicario goalkeeper, Forster goalkeeper, Austin goalkeeper, Whiteman goalkeeper, four goalkeepers. Listen, Udogi, Romero, Porro, Davies, Van der Ven, Basuma, Madison, Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Kulusevski, Johnson, Odebert, Sarr, Bentancur, Son Min-hun, Charleston, Timo Werner, Dominic Solanke. Not a bad 23.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you got the B list there, Adrian?
No, because the reason that Bergvall and Gray are part of this list, if you have the B, let's be clear about the B list. I mean, to be counted as an academy trained player out of 8 homegrown players, you have to have been with the club 3 years, with the academy 3 years before your 21st birthday. The B list, there's still a rule there. You have to have been at a club 2 years. This is why Gray and Bergvall don't count on the B list, because you have to be with the club 2 years, and they haven't. They're just newbies, right? But it don't matter because we weren't desperate to squeeze them in. You know what I mean? So we're all right there. Why do you ask about the B list, Ian?
No, because it sounds you got 19 outfield players there, but then you add Mikey Moore, Will Lancashire. You'll bring in Dorrington. maybe Tyrese Hall, and on and on.
I've no doubt that list is there. I think the only two that Anne just sort of real hinted on is Mikey Moore and Will Lancashire, which I'm happy with that. Because you don't want to be part of the squad and they're not getting a game. We've got kids in the squad anyway. You've got Odebert, you've got Gray, you've got Bergvall. I mean, this is one manager who says you can't play kids because half the team are kids before we brought these players in anyway. You know what I mean? So it's true, though, isn't it? I mean, yeah. So what's your take on the fact that it's 23 guys? And Alan, what's your take? 23 players instead of I'll come to you next year. Right.
I tried to read the rules and get a better understanding of why we can only have 23 when other teams have 25, and the what was it, the homegrown rule or the academy trained players or whatever.
Yeah, that's it.
I guess I just don't understand it.
Right. Okay. Let me. It's because the only two academy trained we've got that did the 3 years, right, are Austin and Whiteman, two of the goalkeepers, which probably why people are screaming today. How comes we got 4 goalkeepers? They didn't know the rules, obviously. Well, that is why, yeah. So that's the reason there, yeah. All right.
It just seems like such a strange rule to me. I guess I don't. Not to say that I'm really going to miss Sergio Reguilon and Djed Spence. I don't think that they really impact the team very much to matter anyway. I don't like that we got the short end of this. I do like that. Probably we'll see maybe Will Lancashire. I'm a big fan of Will Lancashire. I think that needs to be given an opportunity to show his abilities. I'm very excited about Mikey Moore coming on, show his abilities. So I don't want to see a situation where we have to bring in Fraser Forster or or Timo Werner. These are some players I would just rather not see. But
can I just say good evening, Mr. Kaufman?
Evening, Ben.
Hello, Ben.
Come on anytime you want, Ben, if we've got a link to you. If you've got a link to him and he wants to come on, Mark, give him the link. You know what I mean? If you've got a link.
Well, Ben, if you'd like to come on the show, I can send you the link if you put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So similar, some of these rules just seem kind of arbitrary. Similar with the what I just read about Christian Romero missing our first Europa game because of a red card he got 2 years ago. It just seems so weird. I can't believe that a card that he got 2 years ago is still following him. Just let it go, people. It just seems strange.
What? Rules are rules. He misses the next game.
I understand. To me, it's a strange rule.
But that's the rule. That's the rule.
No, I get it. I understand it's a rule. I know he's going to miss it, obviously.
Right.
It's a strange rule to me that I'm not.
Ooh.
He shouldn't have taken the guy out on the touchline, should he? We were just building up, a bit of momentum, and he killed it for the team. We were, I'm not saying
took him out well on the touchline, didn't he? I was at that game. Like,
I remember that. I mean, I remember the game. Yeah.
And it may have cost us, extra time.
There's just, I guess, from my point of view as an American and with American sports, I don't know of a situation where anybody gets penalized in one season and then 2 years later they're getting penalized because of that, the equivalent of a red card, let's say. Not in any sport that I'm familiar with otherwise. It just seems like a strange rule to have.
But the difference there is that in American sport, they're playing, there's no relegation. They're playing the same teams every single season. We are not playing the same team. We didn't play any of these teams last season because we weren't in Europe.
So there's a big difference, isn't there? I mean,
it's just
where you're coming from now. If there was some form of compensation where a player could buy off his red card or yellow card by donating money to charity or some silly, that's just some mad idea I've come up with now, right? But the difference I've got is if someone gets a red card early in the season, they get a 3-match ban. And someone gets a red card in the last match of the season, they get nothing. You see where I'm coming from? Does
that not roll over to the following season?
What red cards?
No. I'm not on about Europe. I'm on about like the Premier League. If someone gets
if you get five yellow cards prior to the January transfer window, you then get the 1-match ban.
Yeah.
But if you've got 4 4 yellow cards or something, I think it is. Unless
Up
they
till
change it
Christmas,
this
isn't it?
season.
Is it Christmas?
Then when you come, I'm not sure the exact dates now
No,
because
no, I
we're on
don't.
this disciplinary stuff. I would have looked into it. Then they get wiped clean and you start again for the other half of the season.
Yeah.
There is an amnesty with yellow cards, but as long as you don't get 5 of them in a certain period, right?
Can I just say, it seems to me like a bit of a trite rule, to be honest. You kind of talking about a totally different competition 2 years later. If it's the following season, fine. But anyway, I was just saying what Ben's saying about Djed Spence. I was really amazed when he was left out. The simple reason I'm thinking, well, he's been given all these plaudits for how he's trained and this sort of thing. And you think, well, okay, fair enough. He's not our number one right back. But you think, well, in the League Cup or the FA Cup or the Europa League, he's going to get a chance then. He's being left out. Now, at first I thought, well, why have you left him out when you've got 4 goalkeepers? Now, you're saying that it's something to do with the homegrown. So just have you 2 homegrown keepers. Why is Ben Forster in there? If you got 2 homegrown keepers.
And Vicario. Vicario's one of them as well.
Okay, just swap Djed Spence for Ben Forster.
Yeah, Brad, we shouldn't be in this situation. Why should we then have Whiteman and, like you say, why should we have them 2 in the squad? Right? I mean, admittedly, Austin's done a right pre-season. I've got to admit.
I've liked Austin when I've seen him, definitely. So why not have Austin and Vicario as our 2 goalkeepers? Do you need more than one? I don't get it. I really don't.
No. It's because the other 2 are homegrown, aren't they?
Forster's homegrown as well for the 8. Madison, Johnson, Forster, Davies. The 2 goalkeepers again. The fact they're academy homegrown, they're homegrown as well. Part of the 8. He's part of the 8. I think we might be short on the 8 without Forster.
Yeah, it just seems really strange that how was that in pre-season and that. And let's face it, I've watched him in pre-season. He looks like he could fit a role. I mean, I'm not saying our number one right back, but he seems to suit Ange's system. And yet now he misses out on a league that he well have got games in.
And another thing. Now this was brought up on Ben's channel. I think Sean Slater put it in there. How must Djed Spence be feeling?
Exactly.
I mean, he's come back.
Yeah.
He's sort of got his head down. He's sort of right. I want to get in Tottenham's team. When it comes to the Europa League squad, he don't even get in. Personally,
he's coming on. He's coming on as a sub in Premier games. And
no. But I was on about he's come back. He's got his head down. He did well in pre-season. And when it comes to this Europa League squad, he can't even get in it. If I was him, I'd be like, stop this, isn't it?
Ben's paying you a compliment, Mark.
Well, to be honest, I mean,
he had the reflexes of Mark after he's had 15 lagers. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Go on, Brad. I was
going to say. Look, I think Forster, when we signed him, I thought that was a good signing. He's a good backup keeper, Premiership experience. But I went to the Fulham game. The League
Did you?
Cup. Yeah,
oh my goodness!
I saw the penalty shootout, and to be honest, he was absolutely hopeless at it.
He didn't even dive for any of them, did he? He just stood
5 penalties, and I thought, at least make an effort. But he was awful. And from that moment on, I thought, well, why have we got him? And I was very impressed with Austin during the tournament. We got Gunter in the under-21s. He's looked pretty good. And Whiteman, when he was at the club before he went on loan, looked good in pre-season a few years ago. So I think we've got.
Couldn't we have left Timo Werner back and then brought in Djed Spence? Or was there a reason that we couldn't bring Spence specifically?
Well, Spence is homegrown anyway. That wouldn't have been an issue. This is a question of numbers. The fact that we had to drop 2 players out of the squad, he was the one that's picked. Do you remember when one Foyt was left out of the squad? Mm-hmm. And he left Spurs and won everything, didn't he? As players do when they come to this club, right? So it's a question of it was about the numbers. Normally it's 17 foreign players, 8 homegrown. 4 of the homegrown have to be academy trained, which means they have to have done 3 years at the academy before the 21st birthday. And the B-list players have to do 2 years, right? To have done 2 years before they can add to the B-list. So we've got plenty of players, but it's just, I just think this is a mess that Ange's inherited, though. It's not his fault, is it? I mean, we've ripped this squad apart. I mean, come future transfer windows, there are no excuses now. because we've cleared. There's only Regulon to go now. You know, Divine. Oh, I'll come to loans later. So.
But you know what Alex Ferguson used to do when he dropped a player? He'd tell him that he'd be in the next game.
Yeah.
Or the next game he plays. So look, I'm going to drop you from this game for whatever reason, but you will be playing against whoever it might be. So that player knew that he was going to get a game. So maybe Andrew said to Djed, listen, mate, can't fit you in because all the rules, blah, blah, blah. But you're guaranteed you'll be our number one right back in the League Cup, FA Cup, whatever it might be.
Well,
so maybe
there would have been a conversation. You've got to do
it. Was,
you don't just drop someone and let them find out.
It's still a strange one. It's still a strange one, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we discussed it like a few weeks ago, Adrian, about Djed Spence. Not Djed Spence, Pape Sarr, because he went out on loan and it was debatable whether he was going to be one of the homegrown or the academy trained players, because he's been at the club 3 years, but he spent one of them on loan to somewhere else, even though we'd signed him. And there was always something a bit funny about whether he'd be in the 3 years of homegrown.
Because I thought he's done the 3 years.
Yeah, there was always something a bit funny whether Spence
with Mets. He wasn't registered with Mets.
No, because we'd signed him. But because he wasn't actually at the club, there was something a bit funny whether he gets in the ones that had been there the 3 years that they got to be there to qualify.
I don't
for
think it even actually he'd done all his signing, but I don't think it actually even come to the club and was at the academy for.
No, he hadn't. No, he hadn't.
He was loaned to Mets, who got relegated, and he was with them for about 3 years, right?
This is where the funny thing comes in, because we discussed it a few weeks ago, and it was and none of us knew whether he counted as one of the academy trained players or not, even though he wasn't here. You know, because is it 3 years before you're 21 or something to be in the academy?
I've studied a bit of quantum physics, and it's far easier than these rules that you actually got. You know, it really is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, definitely.
And so Einstein, and so even Einstein and that couldn't understand.
Oh yeah, Einstein would have no idea.
As we're on Spence, we know Reguilon's going to go. He's not part of anyone's plans, right? So no one's really that fussed about him. They know he's going. Apart from a few of us who would like to have seen a little bit more of him. I'd like to have seen a little bit more of him. But then you have to trust what they see in the training ground and how a player conducts himself, blah, blah, blah. And all that comes into it, as we know with Ndombele and others, you know. So, and even Basuma, right? So, Alan, what's your take on Djed Spence? Do you like the player or not? Or you halfway there and halfway in?
Look, we haven't seen a lot of him. We saw a bit of him in preseason, but I know that he had an attitude problem initially under Conte. Conte didn't want him. He was a club signing, I believe. And Postecoglou also didn't want him, and he was out on loan a couple times. And now he's come back, and I guess he's decided he wants to make a difference, because he did make a bunch of appearances in preseason, and they were positive appearances. He seems okay. I just haven't seen much of him to really say either way whether I really like him. I was very hopeful when he first came in, because people really talked him up. I remember when there was the talk, and it took forever to get him, to sign him. And then we finally signed him, which feels very Levy-esque, you know, wait till the very last minute. I think we finally waited till the last minute. We finally got him. I haven't seen much of him to really have an opinion about him, other than I know he isn't up to first team standards, but he seems like a Ben Davies level, maybe backup to who? Pedro Porro. He wouldn't be my first choice as someone to back up Pedro Porro. I would like to strengthen that right side rather than depend on Djed Spence. But you know, I think if he gets game time, and if we do see him in cup games, and if he does very well, I'd be happy to see him more often, and consequently feel bad about him being left out of Europa.
Well, he hasn't done himself any favours. He might have changed a bit, but he had issues with Neil Warnock at Middlesbrough when he got loaned to Forest, didn't he?
Yeah, it was attitude, wasn't it? What was it? His attitude.
He ends up going to Leeds. This isn't a coincidence when it happens. Then he goes out to Girona. Al, do you know more about this than we do? You seem a bit closer to the club than any of us. Ian.
Spence's attitude this season is absolutely spot on.
Okay.
That we are down to 23 players because the club who would have known the rules completely messed up with this transfer window. Totally. There are no excuses. It's an absolute shambles that you leave a big club like Tottenham Hotspur. We've got a turnover of 550 million. We can't even fill the 25-man squad for the UEFA. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. There are people there that should be sacked. It's just a disgrace.
The chairman would be nice.
What's your opinion on the player himself, though?
Spence?
Yeah.
I think if he carries on with the improvement that we've seen this season, he's going to be playing a lot of games. Very exciting player. Fast, quick, athletic. Very, very good.
He's got a lot of talent. If he had it for like 90 minutes a game, and put that in every game, and he's suited for Ange's system as well.
With him, the problem has been in his head, not in his feet.
Yeah.
No, was Djed the one that had a few good games that was all on the BBC in the FA Cup?
Well, Forest beat Arsenal.
Brilliant. Yeah.
He was brilliant, and he sort of first came to prominence to the wider football circle. Then. But, I mean, he's a good player. I'm delighted. For me, he's back up for Porro, which is excellent.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they could let Emerson go and cop 20 million. Because Spencer come back and come through.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep him. You fancy keeping him as well, Mark? You like him?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll always do a critique. I'll tell it how I see it. That with me. I'm always fact based. He looked good pre-season. He looked good going forward. I was very critical of Porro when he first came here. Them games against Leicester and Newcastle away were horrendous performances, right? And I've got to be honest. I question his defensive development. He needs to develop more defensive. He looks good going forward, but is that what he's in the team for? I used to. When people
if it's Ange's team, probably.
Well, when we talk about wing-back systems, I was always the one that said if being a wing-back means you're absolved of defensive responsibilities, I don't want you in my team. I want to see more from him defensively. You don't mind. Defenders will make mistakes because teams do score goals against you. That's going to happen, but it's a question of how many and how well you think a player performs and what he brings to the table. And at the moment, don't get me wrong, he looks good going forward. Even in them pre-seasons, most of everybody was going on about him was when he was going forward. Didn't hear too many raves about him, headed clearance, blinding tackle and things like that.
But you could say the same about Porro and Udogie.
Yeah, you could. Udogie's been off point. He's not bad.
They're all going to go forward.
He ain't had pre-season, Udogie. I like the player, but at the same time, towards the end of last season, he fell away a bit. And he hasn't shown his true capabilities this season as well. And they're playing him for fitness because it's the only way he can do it. He's only going to get match shot. He won't get it in training, So I get that, right? But Spence, I'm like that. I mean, like you say, he's got the skill set. You've seen him when he carves his way into midfield, and if he sees a bit of space, he's like Mikey Moore. He'd be zoomed straight into it, right? He don't. This is what I like about players who really do attack the space rather than players that will pass the simple 5 or 7 yard ball. And I think, well, you could have run in that space, drawn someone onto you, you know what I mean, and then laid the ball off. There's I see a lot of like lazy football. Really annoys me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, look, he's with us. He's going to stay. I'll back every player and every manager where at this club. I'll always do that. When they go, I wish him well. Thanks for your service. Goodbye. Shut the door on the way out. You know what I mean? But I mean, so I'll even back Werner while he's at the club. But,
hang on a minute. That's pushing the boat a bit far, isn't it?
It's Friday.
I don't talk about Werner, but and I really hope he does really well for us because it would just piss a lot of people off. But
I can't see it though. I can't see it.
Yeah, look,
He's not the answer, guys. But he's not.
it's not.
No.
He's not as bad as people are making
He shouldn't. He shouldn't attract the amount of stuff that he does attract for one player. You know, it's like we've signed Satan on the left wing. It's crazy, but yeah. Anyway, don't talk about him.
I want to talk about a subject dear to my heart that I've been going on about for years at this club, right? And I've been exasperated with it so much.
What's a beer? It's terrible.
Yeah, the prices, one thing. Yeah.
Especially in number 8, especially in the number 8 bar. It's scandalous.
£8 for a Foster's? Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I want your opinions on corners, free kicks and throw-ins. When we're taking them to our advantage and when we're defending free kicks, corners and throw-ins. Alan, you first. You may rant if you want to.
Well, when it comes to any like throw-ins, you said corners and set pieces, we don't do a great job. Isn't that how we Newcastle took a quick throw and scored their first goal? I don't see us doing stuff like that. We used to. I think was it under Conte or was it under Jose? We used to do quick stuff, and we would, people would complain about it.
Let's break them down a bit, right? Let's break them down. I want to talk about throw-ins because this is really got me going. Ian and Brad and maybe Mark remember back in the day, you knew the player in the side that had the longest throw, whether it was Ian Hutchinson, Martin Chivers.
Yeah.
You had Delat, was it at Stoke or someone?
Yeah.
Like Kyle Walker had a good throw in.
You had all them with throws, and what gets me, it's you and used to see situations. We always see it, right? Ball went into touch. You're not quite sure who it went off of. You get two players, which is what I like, showing a bit of aggression. Both grabbing the ball. It's my throw. And then before the lines, when a referee went home ball, away ball, whatever it was, right? Who's got the longest throw in the Spurs team? What are we doing at throw-ins? To me, I think our throw-ins are absolutely disgraceful. And I'll give you an example. And I got laughed at by Chris Callan. I said, we should be doing throw-in drills. And this was like 3 seasons ago, whatever. And he laughed at me. And I said, I'm serious. I said, in 1980, if Ian remembers and Brad remembers or Mark remembers, Terry Venables was manager of Crystal Palace. In 1980, there was Jim Callan's Crystal Palace were going to be the team of the 80s, but we were, right? And they came, and the throw-ins they took, every time they got a throw-in down in our third, the thrower threw the ball behind our back four because you can't be offside from a throw. We struggled to cope with it. You can do drills for throw-ins.
You got to have players to do it, Adrian.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a handful of players over 45 years.
Yeah.
So why should we have 2 or 3 players now?
But I'm not necessarily talking about a long thrower. You can still do drills with shorter throws. If I've got the ball in the foot, say halfway between
about keeping
our
possession,
halfway line and the opponent's goal, right? And I know, and my midfielders know that if I go 3 fingers up or something like that, they know what I'm going to do with the ball. So if it's going to be a line ball or a throw, or someone's going to run into the space and then quickly lay it off wide, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated.
It doesn't work that way. Football doesn't work that way. It's a different game today.
It's interesting actually because a few seasons ago I went to Tottenham against Liverpool. I think Liverpool
Good evening, Phil. By the way, I hope you can hear us.
And Liverpool scored from a throw from the move came out from a throw-in, and I found out later that Liverpool actually have like a throw-in person that actually analyses throw-ins.
Northern Ireland did, and he went to Villa.
This is what we're going to do at a throw-in. This is the modern game now. Everything is analysed. Everything is looked at facts and figures. So yeah, it's something that I'm not. And we're not talking about the long throw. We're talking about actual.
And I don't get the excuse, Brad, when they turn around and say there isn't time. You know, when I used to run sites and stuff like that. I mean, if I said to my boss, I haven't got time, he'd say make time. And the other thing that gets me right is when suddenly, if we were say you know, in a Fantasy Island dream, we were to spank Arsenal 10-0 Saturday coming, right? Right? Or 11, right? Or 11. And then the manager goes, oh, you've beaten 10-0, we'll give you the day off. What is it with these days off? That's another thing that really infuriates. You can't tell me there isn't things we can be working on, especially after last season, our defending, you know, the 14 set pieces conceded, you know, things like that.
Listen, Adrian, if we beat Arsenal 10-0, they could have the whole week off. It's like...
Just end the season.
Mark won't remember it. Mark won't remember it anyway.
We're done now.
I mean, maybe it's just that, like Ian was saying, that it's just not how the game is today. Maybe the throw-in play is not as important as just getting the ball back on the field and doing whatever's necessary to get the ball in the back of the net. You know, they don't practice it because it's a numbers game now, you know, with everything, you know, crunching it's statistics and whatnot. And maybe the throw-ins are just not a part of those statistics that they would matter. I don't know.
Well, as I said, they certainly matter at Liverpool. So
yeah. Let's talk about corners then, right? We have faffed about corners during the last evening. Phil, you all right?
Good evening. How's everyone?
I'll come to you first, right? We're going to talk about corners, right? Because I'm having a bit of rant about set pieces, right? And corners, back in the day, not too far, you know, we don't have to go back to my prehistoric times, right? But back in the day, when Gilzean was there, you'd have a corner coming, he'd flick it on. That was a way of taking the corner. Even in more modern times, you'd have the ball kicked to the corner of the penalty area. Sheringham would run in and hit it.
Yes.
Or Sherwood would run in and hit it. And you'd try something different, right?
We did that about 4 or 5 games in a row, didn't we? And no one did anything about it. That corner, the corner that went to the edge of the box and someone had just almost passed it into the net. That went on for ages.
We have been mixing it up a bit recently in our games.
Yes, very recently. Yeah.
There's been some. I don't know if they've been working on something or in training, but they've mixed it up. Definitely, it hasn't just been a ball into the box.
I mean, even someone like Ericsson, for all his quality, when he was at his very best, he hardly ever beat the first man at the near post. I mean, like,
his corners were dreadful.
When amateur football, we weren't good enough to put it. I mean, as a right back, if I'm taking a corner, right, I'm thinking, right, okay, either I'm going to hit it short, I'm going to try and hit it in the middle of the penalty area, or I'm going to hit it long for someone over the back. Just try and drop it into a zone. It was not complicated.
This is how bad Ericsson's were. On some of our free kicks, I was even praying that bloody Harry Kane took some of them. You know, that's how bad it got with Ericsson, because all he'd do is hit the first man.
Hit the first man, yeah.
Or the wall. You know, I was like praying.
I think
please let Harry take this one.
If it's a shot like from the 18-yard box or 20 yards out, something like that, it'd be on point with that.
Here's a question for the panel or anyone in the chat. When was the last time we scored directly from a free kick?
Wasn't Harry Kane, was it?
Oh, it probably wasn't.
Well, that was, to me, that was an own goal anyway. But the one
he always used to hit the wall, Harry Kane.
Well, Madison hasn't scored from one yet.
Was it Gaza in 91?
I do remember. I think Ericsson scored in the last game of the home game of the season against Everton, a 2-2 draw. He scored direct from a free kick, but I can't remember any goal from a free kick since then.
Well, I was going to say Ziegler against Arsenal.
Come in the chat, help us out. If you know when we scored from a free kick, let us know.
Yeah. Anything later than Ericsson versus Everton in 2019, that would have been.
Did Gareth Bale score any in his year back with us? Because he scored 18 in total, didn't he?
Yeah, the COVID year.
I can remember.
I'll tell you when it was. It was Sonny. You remember when he was on the left-hand side of the pitch and he took the ball and he took the free kick and it was one that deceived everybody and crept in the corner?
That's Watford, wasn't it, under Nuno?
Watford under Nuno. I think it was that. I mean, I might be wrong. Probably wrong.
Yeah, I'm talking, not to be picky here, but I'm talking about a direct free kick.
Yeah,
like
I know
your Beckham's, like your Ronaldo's, like your Ericsson's. Where that free kick,
sometimes.
I scored
we haven't had too many
years ago, and it's clipped over into the top corner or bottom, whatever it might be. I think Ericsson against Everton in 2019 is the last one I can remember.
And so Gaza in 91 is nowhere near.
Spurs bench says
Nowhere near. Nowhere near.
If it is that long, that's pretty shocking, to be fair.
Yeah.
No. 5 years.
Okay, I'll come to you first, Phil, but let me give you my explanation, right? Free kicks, right? This is another thing, right? It's another thing that really gets my goat up, right? Is there something written in like Premiership rules that like you have to bend a ball around a wall to score a goal? I mean, what happened to the tap to the side? Who's got the hardest shots in the game? I'm going back. What happened to the tap to the side and the shot? What happened to the Martin Peters chip over the wall? What happened to the slide rule pass down either side the wall for a player to run on? Like when Argentina scored us when Hodder was manager. Where's the variation? I mean,
what about the flick up for Letizia hitting it on the volley?
Yeah.
Well, they banned that.
I mean,
They banned that after that.
No, it's the heel one, Mark. It's
someone did a flick up, didn't they? And they banned it.
They banned that one. That was years ago. Yeah.
It was Willie Carr, 1970.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
We did see the Son Madison link up when they put the ball in the last game to Porro for him to have a shot from outside the box. And you notice one of the changes that has been made is we are shooting from out the box. It's been pathetic, but then some fans have been going, "Why are we doing that?" Well, because everyone's been screaming for it, and it's the way you beat a low block.
I mean,
can I just ask
beat a low block from shots outside the box. Wingers taking their players on in a penalty or try and get you a penalty, and late runs into the box, which is what our dealers used to say to Mickey Hazard: make you run late into the box. They can't mark you up, can't pick you up. You know, but you'd think what gets me is you think, oh, these are all modern professionals. They would know all this stuff. When I see places,
I don't think we've got anyone who could strike the ball from outside the area. To be honest with you, like
I was going to say that.
Porro's pretty good. Yeah, that's a good shout actually.
Sonny.
Nah, not from.
I don't think Sonny could do that.
Maybe with the side foot.
Romero can. No, we've got a few. Madison can. Romero can. Yeah, I mean,
where's Tom Huddleston when you need him?
I'm surprised that Madison hasn't brought that up yet, to be honest with you, because that's one of the good things that when he come to the club, like that was one of his go-to specialities. Do you know what I mean? But just
VDV scored a couple of goals from outside the box, nice ones as well. Like
who did?
Van der Ven.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we have got them. No, we have got them, but
and Naeem scored one, didn't he, from outside the box?
Yeah, from the halfway line.
From the halfway line.
What's your take on free kicks, Ian?
I think free kicks. I think you saw at Newcastle that Montgomery's influence is starting to get stronger. I think defensively, I think you'll see a few more this season. I think dead balls. I think moving on to corners, defending. I think there's a massive improvement this season. For me, that is the biggest improvement on last year. We haven't conceded from a dead ball kick since before Liverpool. You look at it's been 7 games now, starting with Liverpool at Anfield beginning of May. We haven't conceded a goal from a corner.
Yeah, I want to see a bigger sample before I think that we've cured it.
Listen, Sunday week will be a good test.
I agree with Ian there. I mean, if you look at this season, we've scored 1 goal from a corner in 3 games. We haven't conceded. The big test will come against Arsenal, obviously. But so far so good. But I think they are looking at it.
Brad, you mentioned Arsenal.
Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go.
I will say, hopefully this is like a time machine thing, and you brought that from next Sunday.
It was from the 3-0 at the stadium when they bottled
Yeah.
out
I know exactly when it was from.
season, right?
But I was just like, I hope it's from next Sunday.
Mm.
And that probably was the most important North London derby ever.
Yeah.
It's the first one.
Where both teams had to win to achieve the same goal.
Yeah.
They were both going for the same goal, and we won convincingly. I mean, it could have been 5 or 6 that day, to be honest.
Yeah, that was the first one with the crowd in the stadium. The other one was where the Sonny won when Sonny broke and scored that screamer into the corner.
Yeah.
That was the first one with the crowd. And to be fair, the crowd, I mean, it's a cliche, the 12th man, but they really were that day. Arsenal looked like deers in the headlight that day.
I actually watched that in the pub with a good mate of mine who's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he had to have it, to be honest.
And to be fair, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Gary Neville. I happen to like him, but he actually said in the commentary, "Wow, this crowd have got this." Yeah, he really did. Yeah, so.
That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do again next Sunday.
Yeah,
that's exactly what we need to do.
As long as they don't score 3 in the first half and half of them spend the second half in the bloody goal.
I was also semi-retired then as well, so I wasn't working, so it makes it even better. So yeah.
So I'm going to come to Ian now. Ian, I put up our games for September 5. We've got Arsenal at home at 2 o'clock kickoff on Saturday this week. I'm going, obviously. Then we got Coventry away at 8 o'clock kickoff on the following Wednesday. Then we have Brentford at home, 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. We ain't going to have many of them while we're in the Europa League after that one. And then we got Carrier Bag at 8 o'clock on Thursday the 26th. Then we got Man United away at R4 after the Carabag game on Sunday the 29th of September. Tough set of fixtures in, or are they just all tough anyway?
Well, I can see home defeat with Arsenal, unfortunately. Narrow. Home defeat nonetheless. Coventry, Brentford, Carabag all wins. Man United, probably a draw. Could well be a draw. United aren't great.
No.
Right.
Brentford?
No, wins. 3 wins on the spin with Coventry, Brentford and Carabag. 3 wins. For me.
Phil?
Arsenal, I'll be happy with a draw, to be honest with you. But if the crowd is up for it, then I think
don't worry about that.
Yeah. But the thing is, if they score early, then we seem to get on the players' backs quite early if that happens. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw there. With Coventry, all depends on what team we put out and if Ange has, learned from his lesson from the Fulham game and not, changed too much. So I think a Coventry win. Brentford, I think that's a comfortable win at home. Same as the European team as well, Karabag. And Man United, I don't fear Man United. I don't fear Man United at all. Even at their ground, I think they are in the shit at the minute. So I'm serious beating Man United away.
Can I just say?
Yeah, you can say anything you like. You're a mod, right?
Can I just say, Gus in the chat, I thought I was the negative one on there. Loss, win. Oh, he's put 2 wins. No, that's about, yeah.
Alan?
Look, I never like to admit that we'll lose to Arsenal.
No, I can't say that either.
But I think that they're just further along in their project. I watch them. They play better football than we do right now. They're just I think it's just a fact that they are a more talented team than we are at the moment. And they've been playing together longer. It's a team that has had more time together. than our guys have had together. I don't see us beating them, even with the crowd, regardless of the crowd. I think that I think we're gonna unfortunately lose to Arsenal. But Coventry, we should be beating Coventry always. Against Brentford, I could see us. Is it away to Brentford or is it home at Brentford?
Home.
I could see us beating them at home. And Karabakh, same thing. Man United away. You know, I've been concerned about our away form. We haven't won away yet, have we? Our away form has not been that good. Our away form really wasn't that good last season either, if I remember.
No, it wasn't.
Memory serves. So I'm a little concerned. They're not that good, Man United. They're not that good. They seem to draw a lot of good talent, though. Even when they didn't have a great season last season, they haven't started well either. But they solicit really good talent. And I'd be concerned about that game. It's kind of 50-50 for me. I could see if we turn up on the day, we really fight hard, then I could see us winning. But if we are complacent at all, if we play at all like we played against Newcastle, I do not see us beating Man United.
Thought we were very good against Newcastle.
I do as well.
We were. If we then I'll be more specific. If we can't if we can't finish our dinner the way we couldn't against Newcastle, then it'll depend on someone like a Solanke, who I haven't really seen play for us, and how will he gel with our system? Will he work? We just haven't seen it yet. It didn't work. That he did okay his one game. But it was just one game. I couldn't hold it against him for, not banging in goal after goal. It was his very first game with us. But unfortunately, that's all I have to go on for judging Solanke with Spurs. So it's really hard to say whether or not we're gonna win at Man United.
Mark?
Oof. Right. Can you just put the games up again? I forgot what they were. Arsenal is. I honestly, I haven't got it in my being to say that we're going to lose that game. I haven't got it in me to say that I'll never say we're going to lose against that lot. So I can't. But to be honest, the way we defend in Ange's suicide football, they do terrify me. Because it's just one ball down the side and we're done for.
No rights, Mark. No rights.
Well, does that really matter? Does that really matter? Does that really matter if we're going to keep playing this suicide football? Hopefully, he's learned. He better learn, because I cannot watch one ball down the side and Saka running onto it. You know what I mean? And then flicking it across for whoever's in the middle to score. I mean, because let's face it, all they did. Was it last season when they beat us 3-0 at the Lane? Like, all they did, because we'd been sussed out in his stupid tactics, in my opinion, all they did is sat back, soaked up everything we had to throw at them, and then just one ball down the side over the top, and they were in. And so I'm going to say 2-1. 2-1 to us against Arsenal, because I cannot say that I cannot even say that we'll draw with them. But that's heart. That's heart, not head. Who's the next one? Coventry away. Well, if we don't beat them, then we just will give up and finish the season.
They played very well against Man United.
Right, I know they did. I know they did. But I'm not being funny. If we can't beat Coventry, then we just forget the season and move on to the next one. Brentford at home, we should beat them. Karabakh, beat them. Man United away, it depends. I mean, this is the difference between us and a top team. Man United went there and treated it like a training ground. They just literally do what they want. If that game was 6 or 7-0, they couldn't have complained. But knowing us and our suicidal tactics, we might go 1-0 up and then we'll still be on the halfway line with the 2 fullbacks in their penalty area, and it's 1 ball down the side and off we go again. So I just hope that Ange has learned, all these tactics and that. Yes, they worked at Celtic, but Celtic got the best team. We haven't got the best team, and no, it's not working. So bloody change it. So what's that? Well, I pray we beat Arsenal. That's a win. Coventry. Hopefully we beat them. Brentford. Hopefully. Well, it's all hope. I just said, I hope we beat all of them, but I can't see it, to be honest.
To me, I'm fortunate to live a mile and a half from the ground. I'm a season ticket holder. I'm fortunate to be a season ticket holder. I've always said, when people have asked me on other podcasts, that I wouldn't leave my house to go to games I thought we were going to lose. It's just the way my mind works. I'm like, win, win, win. I wanted to win against Man City. I got why fans didn't, because it might have given Arsenal the league. But I'm just one of those that I just want to win every game. So I don't back against my team, right? So I'm taking us to beat Arsenal. And I actually believe we could beat them quite convincingly if we get the first goal. Because then I think the crowd would play a big part. Because when we done them at 3-0, they crapped themselves.
Yeah.
They did. They crapped themselves. Now, I don't know if they're that fragile, but after missing out on the league a couple of times and the draw with Brighton, Brighton are a good side. Let's not lie about it. They're a very good team, right? So, and then them getting a draw and they're coming to us. They're not going to be so cocky coming to us. Go on, Ian, if you want to say something.
Hang on, look how they played at Villa.
Yeah.
They're on a different level to us, Adrian, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, stats prove it.
Watkins could have scored a handful, though, couldn't he, really?
But this is an North London derby, and anything can happen.
But we play into their hands tactically.
Yeah, definitely.
They do the same. They push up. They play a fast attacking, possession-based style of football, right? And even at Newcastle, we didn't have 2 of them. See, this is another thing gets with Ange Ball, if the guy was that bad, we had 4 on the line for the second goal, and we shouldn't have conceded, because your doggy should have been tighter, and Romero should have been marshalling the back 4, because Porro
shouldn't have been on the halfway line.
Well,
you don't stand playing offside on the halfway line when the opposition are coming at you in their 20-25 yards.
That happens.
Ridiculous.
When you don't win the press in midfield, this can happen. This can happen when that happens. I
don't see it happening to other teams the way it happens to us.
No. Well, it's the suicide football we play. It's the suicide stuff we play.
No one else plays that.
To me, when I look at it and look at patterns of play from the stadium, what people don't see on the TV a lot of time. When I look at, I've seen signs this year. I've seen signs of Ange Ball getting through, but that's because on the first 3 games, I've seen the team changed in all 3 games. The forward line's changed in all 3 games. Basuma came in the second game. In the third game, Decky played through the middle. Did it affect us? No. Did we still dominate all those games? Yes. Did we have 60% possession in all those games? Yes. So something's gelling there, right? Something's definitely gelling there. Now, when you concede sloppy goals, and they were poor goals, let's be fair, and the one at Leicester was poor. When you keep sloppy goals and you don't finish your dinner, 48 touches in the Newcastle after their 18, but they finished their dinner and we didn't. I get the backlash from the fans. I get the meltdown. I get it completely. But I'm looking this season. This is why I'm giving Ange a free hit this season. 1, we can't keep binning managers. And 2, I've seen signs. I've also seen signs defensively. Then you admitted it. You alluded to it a little bit earlier, Ian, as well, about defensive. It looks like Nick Montgomery and Sergio Romando have got Oldham a little bit better defensively. Still too early a sample to judge it. And I've seen a little signs of improvement regarding what we're going to do, showing a bit of football IQ when it comes to taking free kicks. Right? So I think it's getting across. People say it's suicide football. I don't agree. Ian, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not going to try and. I won't browbeat people. I'll just express an opinion, So, but I don't agree. I've seen signs there, and I always look for that at games as well. Apart from I mean, the bad things as well. The goals were awful, and like who knows,
I do agree with Alan and Ian about them being further along in their progression, in their project, because it's clear to see that they are. This is why Ange needs more time than a year and a half. But it's a London derby, it's a one-off. Well, it's a two-off game. Obviously, we play them at home and away. But if the crowd, well, I think the crowd will be up for that. We need to. I reckon we need to make it ugly. To be honest with you, I think we need to put challenges in, and we need to make it ugly for Arsenal, in my eyes. And I think it will be one in midfield. With Rice being out, I think we can overload that midfield, and that's where I think it will be one. Solanke's going to make a difference as well up top. So yeah, with Van der Ven being back as well, so we'll be fully strength.
I understand the criticism, and especially last year, I was critical of Fulham. I was critical with some of the substitutions. Some of them were late. I know some were to slow the game down, get across the line tactically. I get that. And it's easy to be a critic in hindsight as well. Do you think, just a general question to you all, do you actually honestly think he's a clueless manager when he comes into a team knowing he's losing probably the best striker in the world in Harry Kane, right? He loses that striker. Basuma is suspended 3 times. Romero suspended once. We have injuries to VDV, Bentancur, Maddison. Players away on international duty. And with all the adversity he had to face, we finished 5th. Is that
Adrian, let me answer you on that one. Number one, we finished 5th after being on 26 points from 10 games.
Yeah,
that's appalling.
Yeah, it is.
We've got 40 points from the last 28.
Because 90% of teams that are top after 10 games finish in the top 4.
That's right. This isn't like this isn't like the old days when Liverpool played 68, 70 games with 13 players. We have a squad of 25. Now, team selection's down to him. In-game management is down to him. Tactics are down to him. Regardless of who the players are, we still put on 11 capable players in, that start the match. So it's got nothing to do with injuries. Look at the injuries Chelsea, Newcastle, Man United had last season.
Nothing to do with losing VDV didn't affect us then, or Maddison.
Far more than us. But
so when after the Chelsea game, when the wheels fell off and we lost VDV,
if we didn't play the crazy tactics we do, then VDV's loss would not affect us as much, because the whole system is built around his explosive recovery. And if you're playing a bit further back, you don't need that explosive recovery quite so much. Now, of course, he's a top player, and of course you'll miss him. But every club misses top players. You can't turn around and say because of injuries. The problem is that Ange came into the Premier League thinking that his system would work the way it's worked in other leagues. What he didn't realise was, you're in Scotland, you've got all the best players, you can afford to play that way, because ultimately your players are much better than anybody else's. We haven't got that here. We don't have that, and just to show the system is wrong, you've got a back 4 that most teams would die to have in their team. Yeah. Yet we conceded 2 goals less than with Dyer, Sanchez, Longlow and Davis.
But no one criticised the back 5 last season, did they? The main criticism, when I criticised it as well, is because the front 3 were pants and the midfield were pants and couldn't dig in. They're too passive. And I've said
Adrian, we scored in virtually every game. We scored more goals. We scored more goals last season than the previous season. So it wasn't down to lack of goals. It was down to conceding that cost us games. You know, we couldn't hold the ball. We got caught on the counter attack so many times.
That's what I'm saying. The midfield was pants. Most games we won and lost in midfield, and midfield was pants last season.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't down to midfield battles. It was being down to it was losing the ball and being so far up that the back two were totally exposed. You saw the games as well as I did. This isn't about a midfield battle,
and it wasn't. I mean,
Rodri, Rodri's better than Basuma.
Right, okay. This is good fun and it's subjective, but I mean, like, I didn't see many games when I'm watching, and I watched for this when the first hints of dissent come from the crowd and the system and all that. And all systems work and all systems fail, right? They all work and fail, otherwise they wouldn't exist, right? I didn't see many times when some fans, not necessarily yourself, would allude to the fact that, hang about, it was as if we had two centre-backs on a half line for the whole game. It never happened. And we did drop back into a mid-block. And we did drop back into a low block at times when we had to, when other teams attack. That's going to happen in any game. You know, you're not going to dominate and hold the halfway line all the game. Even under Poch, we held the halfway line with four players, four defenders on the halfway line. And we did it more than once. And probably as many times under Angeball.
No, Poch's line was never as high as Angie's.
No, the midfield was better. No, yes, it was on the halfway line. The midfield was better when you got someone world class like Dembele there.
But what you had was Walker and Rosa were pushing them back.
It's when we lost the ball and we were getting. This is my opinion. It's only my opinion. I mean, like, you're entitled to yours. I mean, when we would lose the ball or when games were going against us, what happened? Ange would bring on. He'd look at the bench. Who's he got? He's bringing on Skip and Højbjerg. Now, both are good players in the right system in the right league, but not quick enough, not aggressive enough. Although Højbjerg's got a bit more aggressive, but not quick enough with the ball and the vision enough to be like, you know, someone quicker who's got quicker eye speed and that, so they can beat a press and things like that. Sometimes it worked and they helped us out. Sometimes it didn't. But we could see they didn't have the quality for this system, in my opinion, right? And we got through games. How we finished fifth, I think he deserves a pat on the back for. And that's with a system that the players haven't even taken on board yet. So I just struggle when fans, I think it's a lack of patience.
How long does it take to get into a system? Sorry, these guys are being drilled 5 days a week. They had plenty of training. There were no midweek games last season. So, how long does it take players to get drilled?
The attacking side of Ange's play is there. It's just we're not clicking in the final third at the minute. We're not finishing chances off.
Then it's not there, is it?
We are getting in good positions in the attacking side of the pitch.
How many clear?
Our wingers aren't good enough. That's all it comes down to at the minute. And if you had top quality wingers along with a Solanke up top, you would see a total different side in the attacking phase of play.
But Phil, you can only go on what you're seeing, and you can only go on what you're viewing with your eyes. And two wingers are 2/3 of our attack. So it's not good enough. It doesn't work.
It's an important part of our play. Wingers.
It doesn't work. It doesn't have to be. You can play three at the back, bring Dragusin in, which gives you greater stability. You're less open, gives you more strength at dead balls and free kicks and corners, because he's great in the air. He is a proper.
We'd be a lot solid, yeah. But I mean, would we be as attacking? Would it be more fluid playing three at the back?
Why not?
I mean, it wasn't that fluid with Conte, was it?
No.
He didn't have the players, did he? He didn't have the players. Doherty and Sessegnon.
We'll never know, will we? But at the end of the day, we've got Ange now, and at the end of the day, I think the attacking side of his game, of his play, is there. It's just it just needs, quality wingers in his formation. That's all he needs, I think. Obviously, the high line is an issue.
I look at the free goals.
But
the 3 goals we conceded, I mean, they were sloppy goals under any system. To me, Udogie should have been tighter to Murphy. on the Newcastle second goal, right? And then you had Romero at left centre back. He was at left centre back. Then across the other side, you had Udogie, and the player who I don't blame, who had a decent game, Dragerson. If you look at the still, he's turning facing Vicario and goal because he's running and he's playing him on side. I'm not knocking him for that, because I think Vicario, being the experienced centre back, should be marshalling the back four. The same as I believe one centre back should do that. And Vicario, I'm glad he shouted at Bergvall. I like the look of the young kid, because that's what my goalkeeper do. I want it to be like Schmeichel, right? Yelling at his back four, right? And so that goal, the first goal giveaway, my God, you couldn't give away a worse goal. Talk about switch off. You had Maddison comes in, and I had people moaning at me on other podcasts saying oh, Maddison could have done. Madison's come back to help out at left back. All right, he didn't make the tackle, right? But at least he got back, you know what I mean? And then you had Dragerson at right centre back. Basuma, two of them should have stopped Harvey Barnes. One of them should have closed him. Romero had gone forward. All right, timed his run forward to press wrong, right? You can blame him for it or not. Doesn't matter, because we had 6 blue shirts in the line when I looked at the still. You had the doggy side on. We should have. That was miles worse. The space he had, I mean, it's criminal. I mean, the first goal was the worst. You could say, right, we don't concede the first goal. Like, maybe we come out with a draw, we win the game, or maybe we still lose the game. Who knows? You don't know. We're in unknown territory. But a second goal shouldn't have happened, because
we switched off as soon as the throw-in was taken.
And the ball comes to the far post. And what happened to Leicester way? The ball come across to the far post. Same thing again. I pick up on these things, because I think, well, is this a habit or just a coincidence? The goals weren't, to me, the goals were down to bad play under any system. Under any system. They were, the 3 goals we've conceded were awful goals to concede. And they were down to bad play under any system. But no, I take your point, Ian. I ain't knocking it, because it's all about opinions at the end of the day.
What was the original question, Adrian?
About whether or not. We was actually judging Ange and his system of play.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
I think it started with you calling it suicide football.
I haven't spoken about the fixtures yet.
All right. Carry on then, Brad.
Can we put them up there so I can see them, please?
Oh, well, I haven't got them. Listen, I'll be totally honest.
Right. I can't remember. I remember. Okay. Coventry City away, Quarabag at home.
Oh, then, yeah, I'll put that up. Sorry.
Yeah, Brentford at home.
Let's get the
Brentford at home.
Coventry away, Quarabag at home. If we don't win those games, why are we playing football?
By the way, I didn't give my prediction. I'm going for the 5 wins. Right?
To be fair, right? Brentford. I'm leaving Arsenal to last. Brentford at home. I'm of the opinion that any team that wants to challenge for things should win all their games at home. Don't care who you're playing. You want to win all your games at home. Brentford at home. Brentford have been very good this season. Won't be easy, but we should win that. That's a game we've got to win. It's a home game. We've got to win our home games. Man United away, a little bit worried about, for the simple reason that I've been following Spurs like you guys have for many, many years. Man United were absolutely awful against Liverpool, and that's what made losing to Newcastle worse. So I had to sit there with a bunch of frigging Liverpool fans and see Liverpool play brilliant and just wiping Man United away.
Liverpool treated it like a training game.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't.
We had Man United who are absolutely awful, and that's what Tottenham do. We play awful teams and we don't get the result we should do against them. So I'm a bit worried about the Man United away game. We're good enough to beat them, but a little bit worried.
And they've got Ugarte as well now.
Yeah. Arsenal. Okay. Now, as Jimmy Greaves' spitting image puppet, not Jimmy himself, his spitting image puppet once said, "Football, it's a funny old game." Okay. Now, we should have won our first 3 games. I don't think anyone will deny that. If we'd have put our chances away, we should be on 9 points at the moment. But we didn't.
Top of the league.
So what is to say that the way football goes, that we could play Arsenal, be really, really awful, and get something out of the game? So I think I'm not saying we're going to beat Arsenal. I've got a feeling we're going to get something out of that game, the Arsenal game, which obviously is going to be a draw, obviously, if we're not going to lose it. But yeah, it's one of those games where, and if we go back to the Arsenal game last season, now I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to win, they outplayed us. I get that, I do definitely get that. You watch that game, Arsenal take the lead 1-0. We have a goal to make it 1-1. It's offside by that much, okay, that much. In the old days with the referee, everyone in line, you're in offside, it would be onside. But with VAR, no, you're 3 inches offside, okay? Don't get me on VAR with offsides. That's a big thing in mind. So that would have been 1-1. And then Kulusevski got pulled over, should have had a penalty, didn't get the penalty. The ball goes up the other end. It's suddenly 2-0 to Arsenal. So from what should have been 1-1, it's suddenly 2-0. So that's the way football happens. It happens in every game that way.
Yeah.
So it could have been a totally different game if that's what would have happened. But it didn't, and we lost the game.
I think because it must be something to do with the pressure coming up to these games, because you got mates at work having bets with each other and all that. And let's be fair, both fan bases, they hate this game. It's great when you win it.
Yeah.
But they hate it. Everyone hates it, right? And if they don't, because they're all nervous like shit. It's one game you don't want to lose.
I normally go into hiding. I actually go into hibernation.
I've booked a day off on the Monday for that. After that,
is it? I mean, you can go back to so many games. I mean, we should have won there last year. They didn't score a goal from open play. They got a penalty and a deflection.
Yeah.
You know, and when Sonny scored.
The funny thing was, we didn't concede many goals from Suicide football last season in the first 10 games. So
Ainge was brave to throw Johnson in for his debut, the away game at Arsenal. That's some debut to have trust in. He obviously really likes the player. Don't say it, Mark. Don't say it. Right?
I'm not saying
no. Kangaroos, right?
No. I haven't said a word.
I'll be honest with you guys. The way that we play football does worry me. It does worry me. But I'm willing to see. Let's see where we finish this season, and let's before I say it's a good system or it's a bad system. We've had 3 games, and we haven't. Let's face it, we haven't conceded a goal from suicide football this season. You know, we have. Where we are. Let's see where we are at the end of the season, and then
Alan,
it's wrong. I just get really sorry. I've gone on a bit of a rant here.
No. By all means, do.
So annoyed with the negativity from some of our supporters. Some of our supporters that I love dearly, they're good mates of mine. The negativity just really annoys me. Let's see what happens. Let's support our team. Let's see what happens. You know, it's a good team. We've got good players. Okay, we could have had other players during the transfer window. That's something we can't affect. If I don't like the government, I can vote them out. I can't do that with Daniel Levy, okay, or whoever it might be as the chairman. So let's just sit back, enjoy the game, because I'm annoyed when we lose football. Don't get me wrong. I was so pissed off when we lost to Newcastle last week. But the last thing I want to do is go on social media and see everyone pissed off as well. It's like, it's just real. It just really annoys me. Sorry, I've had 4 beers. I'm ranting a bit. But that's how I feel.
That's fine. The North London derby is only enjoyable when you're 1-0 up, and then you're thinking, please get us a second goal, because I'm still not comfortable at 1-0 up, and so you still go on here, and you were going to say something. Go on.
Well, firstly, none of us are comfortable, even if we're 3-0 up, particularly.
True.
Because that's Tottenham. Secondly, a headline has just flashed across the top of my phone. TalkSport: Arsenal player has worrying injury. So if anybody can check out the TalkSport website, one of the Gooners has...
Or in the chat, if you can help us out.
Yeah.
And by all means, throw some questions in the chat. If you've got questions for us, just throw them in.
I do hope it's not Saka.
Yeah.
The other thing, Ian, Alan, because you sit there like a wise owl and you rarely say too much, you know what I mean? So what I was going to ask you, do you think, like, with all the pressure and hype with these North London derbies, that it gets through to the players? They're not sheltered enough from it? Because the reason I'm saying this is because I've noticed that over the years, and this might just be normal in football, I may be misreading it at all, why there are so many controversial incidents when Spurs play Arsenal home and away. I'm talking penalties, sending offs, and things like that. They always seem to happen. If it's your day, you get that decision like Brad was going on about, or go against you, like with a offside decision or something. Do you think it gets through to the players?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I hope that pressure goes to the players, because I want them to feel that pressure. They're paid a lot of money. I hope that they're taking on the pressure of North London derby because it is so important to the fans. I think, so I hope that they take it seriously, like the fans take it seriously. I remember, we didn't win home or away against Arsenal last season. I know I'm a little jealous of Arsenal's recruitment. It just seems like if they want a player, they will shell out the money they need to get. It's how they got Rice. That's how they got Calafiori. That's
the one who's off injured, Calamori.
Calafiori's out.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't. He's new to their team, so I don't know what the significance of that will be. But I just know that
81. Big up, Tom. Tom 81.
I kind of wish Spurs were that way, where if we say we want a player, we spend the money, go get it, and get it done. That's how you build a team, like an Arsenal has been building their team. We're kind of like Arsenal in that we've got a young squad, but we haven't been shelling out the money like Arsenal to reinforce the squad where necessary. We kind of did with Solanke. I mean, it's not a small, insignificant amount what we spent on Solanke, but I feel like if we were willing to spend that kind of money on Solanke, we could have spent a little bit more and gotten maybe a better player. Personally. But as far as the North London derby and the players, I hope they take it on because I want them to play with the passion that the fans have for the North London derby.
Yeah.
Just like, with local here in America, same thing, with when certain teams play one another, I want the teams, I really want the bad blood to boil over a little bit. I want that because it makes it exciting. If they just play like any other game, it kind of, to me, it takes away from the rivalry and the excitement of the game.
Red Sox versus Yankees, isn't it? Is it Red
something
Sox
like that? Right.
Yeah.
Yankees, Dodgers, or something like that.
Yeah.
Phil, and then I'll come to Ian. Phil, do you think the pressure, if it gets through the players, is a good thing? Do you think they should be sheltered, or do you think, like Alan, no, let them paid a lot of money, aren't they? Let them deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're paid to do, isn't it? I think the pressure is good. It makes them more dialed in for the occasion, for the actual game itself. At the end of the day, I think there's a few players there that know what the derby's all about. There's some that haven't played in the derby before, so that may play a factor. But I'll say it again. I think we need to get stuck into them from minute one. I think the crowd need to be up for it straight away.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
You in.
Enjoy your holiday.
Son usually has a good game against Arsenal too, right? Son is known for scoring against Arsenal.
Yeah.
But there is a few players like Odegaard, whether he plays or that haven't played in that sort of game before. So that might be a good thing. Do you know what I mean? The pressure I think is a good thing for the players to make some more dialed in.
They're going to get to know that. Well, to be honest, you can't tell me that any player in the squad doesn't look at social media, and it's very hard. It's very hard not to see something saying about how big the North London derby is. I mean, they get it. I mean, they should get it as soon as they sign for the club. Who our biggest rivals are? Well, we're going to know, aren't you? I mean, even if you don't play football, Tottenham's biggest rivals is Arsenal.
And just coached Celtic Rangers, so
there we go.
Yeah, he'll know. And South Melbourne versus whoever might be their rivals. I'm not sure who the rivals are in South Melbourne. Whoever the Italian team are in South Melbourne. Because South Melbourne was basically a Greek team. So
it's changed back in the day when me and Ian were probably going. He's only a few years younger than me. I mean, we didn't have all this social media, TV. You only watched highlights on Match of the Day. There was virtually no pressure on a fan. You were disappointed if you lost, but then you just walked around. There wasn't even so many wind-ups with mates and all that. It just be
I disagree, Adrian.
Fair enough.
I disagree. No. I was at Highbury on Easter Saturday in '84.
Wow.
We lost 3-2. walking off the pitch.
Going back further than that. Go on, yeah. Go on.
Walking off the pitch, Mariner puts a fist in Perryman's face, like winding him up. Perryman turned around and said, "See you in Europe on Wednesday." We had, I think it was Hajduk Split in the UEFA Cup semi-final at White Hart Lane the following Wednesday. That was a Spurs. Those were Spurs and Arsenal players that wanted it, that felt it, understood the derby. These players today, forget social media, forget that's all noise. If you're a player, they don't understand what it means to the fans. Most of them today are mercenaries anyway. So let's stop kidding ourselves. Does the pressure get to them? Probably not.
To be fair, Ian, if I for some miracle suddenly found myself playing for Man United, I'm going to play Man City knowing that that's a big game, but it's not going to really affect me that much. I'm going to go to Tottenham Arsenal because I've been a Tottenham fan all my life, and it's going to really affect me. So I do get what you're saying, but I don't think it's a bit unfair to say, "Oh, I don't do it," because it's like, why would you? I could play for AC Milan against Milan. I know it's a big game, but it's not really going to emotionally affect me that much. And what you were saying about the Tottenham players in the past, didn't Terry Naylor go to a local pub once to apologise to the Tottenham fans after Arsenal beat us? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I remember reading the story that Arsenal beat us quite badly, and Terry Naylor was playing for Tottenham, who I think might have even been an Arsenal fan when he was a kid. But anyway, he actually went to one of the local pubs.
Oh, I remember Terry Naylor was leaning at the bus when we were away at Stoke and shouting out, "That's right, lads, smash the turn up."
Right.
Because that's what it was like. It was funny, though. It was funny.
I don't know about you guys, but I think like the derbies nowadays, even Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, I don't think the derbies are as good as they were.
Obviously with teams
Roy Keane and Vieira's, and I think it's totally different now.
Well, they'd never get away with that these days.
I think the Tottenham Arsenal derby is probably one of the most rival, one of the best ones. I think Gary Neville used to say that, didn't he? He used to say that this is the big derby, the one, because all the other games seem to be quite tepid now. Even Man United Liverpool, it's not technically a local derby, but even Man United Liverpool, supposedly one of the biggest games in the world, and it was just like, as Mark said, like a training game.
In the 90s, with Keane and Vieira and stuff like that, I think it was a lot different back then than it is now.
I had a great analogy about the various derbies. I said, well, Liverpool Everton, it's a family thing. Celtic Rangers, it's religious. Man City, Man United, it's to do with money, blah, blah, blah. Tottenham Arsenal, it's about two neighbours that had an argument about 50 years ago, and they've totally forgotten what the argument is, but they're still rivals about it. And it sort of, to me, sums it up.
No, it's because in 1919 we were in the second division at the expense of Arsenal. Yeah. But we weren't there long because we won the title by 6 points, beating Huddersfield under Peter McWilliam. And the following year we were in the FA Cup final, winning it at Stamford Bridge against Wolverhampton Wanderers 1-0.
Adrian was there.
That was the ball boy. And then the following year we finished second runners up to Man United. That's just a piece of history. But they pulled a stroke, Arsenal, definitely. What I mean? But
what they've done, it's very hard these days to get into a match the way you used to because they've sanitised the game. We all go for that ultimate buzz when we score a goal, and they've killed that with VAR. They've just taken that out of the game. The game's gone now.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it used to be. It really isn't. It's clinical. It's football is not a perfect game. You look at tennis. They'll check whether the ball's landed on the line or not. With cricket, with rugby, it's different. Football is non-stop, unlike the other sports.
But the difference back then, Ian, was players could tackle, and that made thunderous tackles got the crowd going as well. Especially if it's a bad one against one of your players.
Yeah, if you go into a tackle, sometimes you can't help but follow through. That's a sending off offence, which is absolutely nonsensical. It's just crazy, It's every tackle is treated as though it's malicious and deliberate, and the whole thing's mad. The referees, IFAB have just killed the game over the last few years.
It's like ballet on grass. I describe it now. Ballet on grass.
It's turning into a non-physical game now.
100%.
It's a shame, and that takes away from the passion, particularly on derby days.
Yeah, because let's
slows
face
the game down, doesn't it? With this stop, you know.
There's nothing better on a derby day than your centre half really letting the opposing striker have one. Like, just take him out in the first minute. The whole crowd's up for it.
If you remember,
whole crowd's up for it.
If you remember, Ian, you remember
Romero on Haaland two seasons ago when he wiped it out at the lane.
Yeah, and
tackles.
Ian, do you remember?
He got sent off for that, didn't he? And the whole crowd cheered him.
Ian, you must remember the battles that Mike England had with Peter Osgood. They hated each other, didn't they? You know what I mean? England.
Well, I tell you, the one tackle I remember, because I loved it, because I hated Charlie Nicholas, was Roberts putting Nicholas into row 8 at Highbury on New Year's Day in '86, was it? It might have been.
Well, if you go up one comment, Adrian, go up one comment. Tom's put it in there. Imagine Graham Roberts playing today.
He wouldn't have been out of play. Neither would Graham Souness. There'd been a lot of players. Mackay wouldn't have been out of play today. There was lots. They just would have been kicked out of the game. But that was then. This is now. So we are now, and the game has become a bit. I call it ballet on grass. You know, it's still enjoyable, but a bit of the blood and thunder has been taken away.
There has
a lot of it.
Have you seen the Chelsea Leeds FA Cup final replay?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
That's amazing. Like, you think, I don't know, have 11 this day you wouldn't have 11 men on the pitch after the first 20 minutes. You know? Well,
this is probably 5 or 10 years ago. They got a Premiership referee to re-referee that game.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, right. And there was about 7 or 8 send-ins off. It was carnage. Absolute carnage.
And the pitch as well was like about 8 minutes.
Really Bremner.
So with Dave Mackay, for dragging him up for the scruff of his neck, that would have been assault. He'd have been sent off for that.
Yeah.
Looking at him with cow eyes. Mind you, Mackay said he hated that photo. He was a gentleman. He was a hard man, but he hated that photo.
Did Mackay say to the ref, if you send me off, you won't get out of this ground alive, or something to those effects?
In the heat of the moment, he might have said anything. You just let him do what he wants, right? It's like you just mess with him, right? So the fans as well, guys. I mean, the fans. I mean, I've hinted at the players and the pressures on them, but back in the day of us fans leaving the stadium, if it was between the 60s and the 70s, I should have been a bit clearer earlier. You would have took the defeat and walked away. But like I said, you only had highlights of the game. You didn't have every aspect of the game, pick through the ashes of each game. You know, you finally picked through all the details of the game and decisions and all that. And although you'd be very disappointed at losing, I never liked losing to Arsenal any time, right? You didn't have all this social media and all this stuff to wind you up. So,
no, it was the Adrian. We were maybe on the. I was at school most of the, 60s and a good part of the 70s, and you were Spurs or Arsenal. There were very few people within the school who supported other teams where I was from in North London, and it was a massive game. It was enormous. The build up in the press, the build up at school and with your clubs. It was, you go to the game and we all felt it.
Yeah, you felt, there was the big build up. The reason was because even back in the day without the internet, without Sky TV and all that, if, you look forward to football because back in the day, if I wanted a ticket for a cup game at Spurs in the FA Cup, you queued up 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Right. You want the gates at 1. And the same, if you wanted to go to the cinema, you didn't have, no one had televisions then, black and white and all that. You'd stand outside a DER shop. People would stand outside the shop looking at the TV on the window and the screen and all that. And you'd queue to go in the cinema. There'd be queues outside the cinema. Queues everywhere when people could have the decency to queue. You'd have that. And the reason it was a big game, because there was only these few events each year. You might go to the cricket in the summer or football, but you didn't have all the entertainment you've got now, so you can pick and choose. You couldn't watch all the sports. You didn't have it all on Sky. So when a football game come along, that was the reason why I would go to Spurs grounds and we'd have 50 odd thousand ones. You had all the terrace and you didn't have all the seats of back in the day, I think the shelf stand was still there, like, but you had less seating. You didn't have any seating like in the Park Lane or Paxton years ago. You know, and the West End wasn't there. That nearly broke the club, you know. But so it's different. I mean, and the queues outside, I mean, like, unbelievable, you know.
Spurs have always been a big club. Always been a big club. Not
They're
an elite club. Not at the moment, but
as a teenager, when I was going to away games, Spurs have the best away support in London, and
fantastic. We still got the best away support.
Yeah. You're only allowed to take 3,000 now, right? We used to go. No, I'm not talking about the London games, but you'd go first match. Well, I'll give you an example. First match of the season when we bought, because we didn't get Archibald to May 1980, I think it was. First match of the season when we came back up was against Forest away, and I went. And we all went to Euston, I think it was at the time. And like, I'm there with mates at 10 o'clock in the morning and it's jammed out with Spurs fans, right? And we didn't get the football specials then. We went on the Intercity because we thought we ain't getting in the game. They opened the gates early. We filled the whole side of Forest and half the area behind the goal. I was there, they scored, and Ricky Vere got the equaliser because no one gave us a prayer, as a Preston normally never do. And we came away from Forest with a draw, you know. But that away support was phenomenal. We'd go to Coventry and meet Midland supporters clubs of Spurs fans at the station waiting for us. You know, that's just the away Spurs away. It's mentioned in the paper, Spurs and a huge away following. You know, Chelsea were probably behind us as the second best supported club. You know, but Arsenal and West Ham weren't. They didn't take like fantastic. They weren't like us. They didn't take nowhere near as many away as we did. You know. Just a bit of history for you guys. Yeah, so that's the North London derby, which is fastly approaching, and we will do a preview of the game next Friday because it'll be the day before. I don't know what we're going to do on the Tuesday. What do you guys want to talk about now? Is there anything you want to get off your chest?
Well, I know I have to go in a minute because I'm getting a bit hungry. So.
That's all that beer you're drinking. That's why.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I
had a couple of sandwiches at about 2 o'clock. But yeah.
Let's see what. Oh, I know what you can have a little chat about. Right. I don't know if you follow the Spurs ladies. Grace Clinton's got ACL. We signed a new player. I was going to let Ellie do all this stuff. Loans, guys. Players' loans. What do you think about our loan system anyway in general? I mean, like, on loan at the moment, I know these are virtually sold. Gill's at Girona and he's doing well there. He's done well in his games. Pierre-Emile is at Marseille. The 17 mil gets paid for him at the end of the season. I'm not sure if it's euros or pounds. That's the call to Michael Bridges. Jamie Donnelly and Josh Keeley are at Orient. Matthew Craig, he's a very combative midfielder. He's been out on loan two seasons on the spin now. Don't know what's going to happen with him. George Abbott, he was captain of the under-18s. He's at Notts County, but he got promoted because some of these younger kids are that good. They get promoted to the under-21s quickly. He can play as a number 6, a box-to-box midfielder, and even slide into the back 4. Looks a good prospect. In pre-season, I wasn't impressed with him, to be honest, when he came on. Manor Solomon's at Leeds. He got rave reviews for his game. They said he looked head and shoulders like, you know, when you get a player that just stands out on the field above everybody else. They were the reviews he got. I was looking at Leeds reviews of his game, seeing what was going on, and like they've really raved about him. But he's had a year out of our club. If you had a year out and no pre-season, virtually, I mean, like, what do you do? I don't blame. I've had my group in their Facebook group was, oh, why they let him go out? You know what you're going to get. Why are you going to let him go out on loan like? So, Manor Solomon there. Aloji Velez scored the winner in injury time for his club.
Yeah,
nice goal as well. I mean, like a turn and swivel, and ref smashed it in the roof of the net, top roof of the net.
He got emotional at the end of the game as well, didn't he?
I've heard about it. Yeah.
Ashley Phillips got rave reviews at Stoke. You couldn't make this stuff up, like,
he
right?
did it for Plymouth, didn't he?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know much about Dane Scarlett at Oxford. Didn't see much on him. Luka Vuskovic at KVC Westerlo, where Alfie Devine's now gone. And he better get game time, or they should just hook him back because he's wasted a year of his development by not getting played at Plymouth when they changed their manager, whereas Phillips did. So Vuskovic, I mean, the kid's 17. I mean, I've watched him play a few times. All the clips I see of him, he just looks like an absolute baller. But we'll see. He might turn out to be rubbish. Some players kick on, some don't. And they don't all make it. Our loan system, guys. I mean, what do you make of it, Phil? What do you make of our loan system? What you know of it?
Well,
I'm talking about. Well, okay, make it easier. Like when players go, like Scarlett goes to Ipswich last year, he bangs goals in for England and the under-21s when he's playing. He goes to Ipswich. All right, they did get promoted, and he don't get played. You know what I mean?
That was because they had a change in manager as well, which don't help because obviously they have different ideas and whatnot. And I don't think Scarlett was in their plans as such with the new manager. So I think that's why he had lack of game time. But I mean, in terms of the other players like Hill and Phillips and Villiers and players like Solomon, I thought that was a brilliant loan for him. Unfortunate with the injuries at Spurs, but I think the Championship would be a good sort of level to get him back into form. Whether he's going to have a future at Spurs down the line, I don't know. But you could say the same for all the other players on loan. Did they have a future at Spurs? It all depends on how well they do out on loan, isn't it? But they didn't really have a future when they were here. So let's just see. Let's see how they do.
Ian, your take on our loan system?
I think loans only work if the player goes to a club that play a similar system to us. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of time. Scarlett should never have gone to Ipswich. McKenna had done well. He had his own players. Didn't give him a chance. Didn't need to. He brought Ipswich up. Abbott should never have gone out on loan. Quality player coming through. Phillips, I would have kept. We got no left-footed centre back as cover for Mickey. Just a crazy decision. Devine, I would have kept as well. I think the guy's quality. I don't know. Donnelly needed it. Donnelly needed games. He's doing well at Orient. The rest, I don't know. Villiers, no idea. Vuskovic, and I don't quite look on him as our player because he's joining when he's 18. So for me, it's he's going out on loan.
I think it starts at January, but it might be the end of the season.
He's still
he's 18 after January. I think that's what.
His registration's still within another club. So to me, he's not a player. But the whole thing about loans they've got to help the player, and they've got to improve the player so they come back into our system a better player. And good enough to be in our squad. So if you're going to stick players out and they're not going to get proper game time, or they're going to play in a different system completely, it's counteractive.
I mean, when they have these contracts to send these players out on loan, they should have in the contract, what sort of game time they're going to be playing. Do you know what I mean? What's their squad status when they go to these clubs?
But how can you guarantee a player? He's got to be worth it. He's got to train hard. He's got to be on time. He's got to be a model professional. Most importantly, the guy's got to do it on the pitch, for 90 plus minutes. So, if he's not playing well and he's not earning, then it's wrong that it's written into his contract that he's got to play X amount of games.
And surely there must be some sort of incentive scheme. I mean, I don't know how these deals work.
That's ruined my point. I was going to say that. That's what I'd like to see.
Go on, Mark. Go on then. I'll let you say.
No, no. All I was going to say is these players that go out on loan, I don't know who pays what wages, whether we pay all of it or do the club they go to pay some of it. I don't know. But say the club they go to pays some of it, their wages. I'd like to say, well, if he plays X amount of games, then we'll pick up a bit more percentage if we're still paying some of it, to give them, right. And if he's, and if he don't get a game at all, then just bring him back.
What really annoyed me I'm a big fan of Alfie Devine, right? We all see him score that goal against Marine in the FA Cup when he's 15. He's 20 now, right?
Wow.
And he goes to Portsmouth under the reason him and Ashley Phillips went there because the England coaches that were of England at the time were with Portsmouth. So they went Plymouth, sorry. Brain fart, sorry. Right. So they knew, right, they would get game time. The thing is, we can bring Bergvall and Gray in, right, who've been getting game time with their clubs, whatever leagues they're in, they've been playing football. Alfie Devine comes back and shows in that second half against QPR. I thought he was our best player in pre-season, right? He comes in. I thought Spence was their second best player, to be fair to Spence. I know I've been critical of him and probably will be again, right? But like, and then now, so to me, Devine has lost a year of his development. You can't afford that with a good player like Devine because he's going to make it, in my opinion. People can clip it. He will make it. He's that good and that versatile, right? And so I was annoyed when Devine didn't get it. Now he's gone to Westerlo. I'm pretty sure Spurs will have learnt their lesson and said, look, he ain't coming to you if you ain't playing him, because like you just can't do this to the player. It's not fair to the player. He'd be better off playing for the under-21s, but he's too good for him. Same as Moore's too good for him.
Well, I know for a fact now. That Mr. Daigle, big up Mr. Daigle. I ain't seen him in the chat, but he said it on his stream the other day that he's on. That he's on. What's the name of the team? Well, he's followed them on his football app, and so because he's a big fan of Alfie.
Yeah, he followed him when he was at Port Vale.
Yeah. Well, whatever the team is, it Vestervale or something?
Westerlo. KVC Westerlo.
Well, whoever they are, he's followed them on his football app.
See, to me, this isn't good enough by the club either. And they should have had sort of guarantees and foul saves in place anyway. And it's not the first time, like Ian said, where players have gone to clubs which don't really suit them. And they probably just farmed them out because, they needed time. And, players should be able to adapt to systems as well. But, Dane Scarlett scored a lovely goal against Shakhtar Donetsk when Harry Kane got the 4 goals in his last game for Spurs. That's well in terms of I've seen him score quality goals. I've watched him before. We were all raving about last year's under-21s, and I watched virtually all the games on Spurs playing that. And we have got
different level, though, isn't it? Different level.
It is a different level.
It's not in day the under-21s and even the championship and the under-21s. I think it's not in day.
And for a few of the under-18s to come through into the under-21 squad, like Tyrus Hall, needs to fill out a bit. Who's got a bit of Musa Dembele about him. He really looks a class player at that level. He really does, right? But he shone a little bit when he came on a slight. I don't know if he came on against Hearts. It was away in the first away game, and then another game not so good. Abbott came on in one of those games. He wasn't as good as I've seen him, when he came on. But they're only given a half each anyway, But I've never, and I used to watch Spurs reserves. I've never seen a better crop of youngsters. I don't know what's going to happen to them all. I really don't. I don't know who will kick on. Some could drop off. If they're not dedicated, you're not going to survive in this world of football. You can't have the wrong attitude. You've got to give it 100% because you're getting paid a fortune. So you should dedicate yourself, in my opinion. But, anyone else got any comments on the...
Well, the only thing about the loan system is it's to give players experience, isn't it, really? To give them game time. In various leagues,
and to test them.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that you can guarantee they're going to get game because you can't say to a manager or another club you've got a guarantee he's going to play. Although what Mark was saying about financial incentives maybe, but then again that sort of leads into sort of strange areas. But
it's a bit corrupt, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I'm surprised. Obviously, Mikey Moore is a good player, and I think he's too young to be loaned out, so that's fair enough.
Yeah, he's not old enough. He's only 17.
I think they've kept Lancashire for the simple reason that you don't know what's going to happen with Richarlison. he's never fit. I've never known a player to be injured so much. So, so Lancashire at the moment is basically the backup striker to Solanke. The other loans, Donnelly, I can see that loaning him out. Alfie Devine, I was surprised. But then you think, well, okay, maybe they've taken the decision that with all these wonderful rules about how much you can have in your squad, they thought, well, he's not going to make our squad of how many players it might be. So rather than sit there and just basically play the under-21s, as you say, it's too good for them, loan him out to get some more experience. So, it's a difficult one. But let's face it, we were the one club that actually loaned out. Was it what's the guy? He used to play for Wolves. Came to us and he's back at Wolves.
Doherty.
Yeah, Doherty. I mean, we totally screwed up with that, didn't we? We loaned him out and suddenly realised that we'd loaned out too many players, and we had to basically cancel his contract to get out of it. So so we're not the best in that department, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree with that by Dan, actually, because actually I was a big fan of Santiago. Didn't quite get that one right. He's gone to a second division Spanish club.
He went for 3 mil. Was it 3 mil he went for? Was it?
I don't know the exact figures. Due to Bell, who we got of a Chelsea striker.
Yeah, that was
he went to a second. I think he's gone to a second division Spanish club. And a player I thought in his first season, before he was another one who nearly stopped off the rails, mixing with dodgy characters in Ireland, Troy Parrott. When he had that season there and he was smashing goals in for fun, and then he really dropped off the pace, but he's gone. And it's very telling to me with Elogi Velez, because I always like to read between the lines. You'll send Velez out, and yet you'll keep Lancashire, who scored 23 goals, that's league goals in 22 games. He got 30 odd actually with cup goals and stuff like that. And they're saying, and he does look like that. He does. He has got a similar style, but dare mention his word. I'm not going to make any bold statements, but they sort of say he's similar to Kane. He's got a similar style to Kane, and he has actually when you watch him.
Just a point that Destiny 5 makes about Kane. Kane had a lot of loan periods, so maybe with someone like Alfie Devine,
he went to Millwall, didn't he? I think he went to Norwich.
A lot of loan periods might work out in the long run as good for him. So it's difficult.
Yeah. Ian, have you got anything else to say on the loan system or any particular players?
No, not really.
Right.
Not really. Nothing to add to what I've already said.
Do you want to have some fun, guys, in the light-hearted section? I haven't picked a gun on that myself. Right. Normally at this stage, for those of you in the chat, thank you all for sticking with us. There's still 35 of you with us, which is good on a Friday. You should all be out on the beer, in my opinion. You're a disgrace to the human race, you lot in the chat.
I was going to say, Brad has been.
Right. What we normally do when we get guests on the show, for those of you in the chat that don't know, we usually ask them how they become a Spurs fan, but we've done that with these reprobates I've got on at the moment, So, so what we normally do is ask them 3 other questions, like name a favourite Spurs player. It doesn't have to be your best ever. Choose a particular Spurs victory. Hope it's an Arsenal one. It's Chelsea or West Ham, and select a special Spurs goal. Who wants to go first?
I haven't prepared tonight. I
I sent you about.
I've been busy.
I can't remember. You've been busy. All right. Well, we'll do what you can do then, yeah?
Yeah, okay. I'll think of something.
Name a favourite Spurs player and not Gary Mabbott again, all right? I've had him 20 times so far. Right?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I was on Tottenham on Tour's fan show earlier, and I went through the whole story again because the roadman who's in the chat, big up the roadman, he'd never heard the story, so he had to suffer it as well. That must be about the 400th time I've told that story on YouTube.
401 now. Go on.
Well, no, I'm not saying it again. Is it my go?
If you can't think of a goal, just we'll do the player and the particular victory. You must be able to think of those, right?
Yeah. All right. Favorite player. Who did I had Aaron Lennon last time, didn't I? Let's think of someone random. Ledley King.
Good choice.
Ledley King. Just for what he was. Well, just pure and simple for that tackle against Chelsea.
Oh wow, that was brilliant, wasn't it? Absolutely
amazing. Yeah. And for playing with one knee.
Yeah.
What a player he could have been. What a player. Oh, hang on. What's this, Destiny 5? I met Mabbott at Blue Water Shopping Centre in Watford, and my dad was like a schoolgirl. Oh, yeah. Well, that's exactly what. Well, I've met him. I've met Sir Mabbott twice, and I'm just overawed by it. He's like my hero.
I got
I actually saw Mabbott by the goal line bar. He was walking down. I walked past him. I was like,
yeah.
He used to ring people up during lockdown, didn't he?
Yeah.
Hundreds of people he did.
Yeah. Well, and he still does. Even now it's not lockdown and whatever. He still does on your birthday if you're over a certain age and you're a Hotspur member or something.
Apparently, he's an expert heavy breather on the phone.
No. But he phoned King Arthur, if you can remember him from the community.
Yeah, I remember.
He phoned King Arthur like a few times on his birthday, like, and he's still doing it to this. I think you've got to be a one Hotspur member or one Hotspur plus, and he'll phone you up on your birthday for like 20 minutes.
You got a call from him.
Do you guys remember his brother Kevin Mabbott, who played a striker for Crystal Palace? I'm sure he does. But
we weren't talking about him anyway. I've said Gary Mabbott about 10 times.
Right, okay.
Well, on this show, I was talking about.
You're in the light-hearted section. We can do what we want, right? Okay.
Well, hang on. If you go down a few comments, like, if you go down to Mr. Daigle, who's just come in the chat.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah, we got Brian. Right. Me saying someone random and then saying Deadly King. Well, I know he's not random, but my answer normally is Brian Gary Mabbott, like favourite player. But I've said him about 20 times all the shows I've been on. So I've been banned from saying him anymore.
Big up David Kerslake.
And you still haven't. Oh, yes, you did. Ledley King. Can you? Ledley King goal? Can you recall a Ledley King goal?
He didn't score many, did he? I'm sure you can think of some, Adrian.
He had the record, didn't he? He had the record for the fastest goal in the Premiership.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, he did. But my favourite goal, I'm trying to think of the ones I've said.
A favourite, not your ultimate favourite, just a favourite.
Well, just, all right. Ricky Vere in the 1981 Cup final.
And still Ricky Vere. What a fantastic...
Yeah.
He scored.
A true story about that game. I was only 10. And I was sat with my dad watching it, and he picked me up and banged my head on the ceiling.
Wow.
Like when Villa slid that goal, and he picked me up because it was obviously the winning goal, and I whacked my head on the ceiling.
I do remember that game. I was watching it live in Australia about 3 a.m. I had all my mates round. And I remember when the goal went in, I was so emotional, so exhausted by the whole game. All my mates, who weren't even Spurs fans, all jumping around. I'm just sort of saying like that, Yeah. Of course, when the final whistle went, then I was up there. But there was a ABC newscaster called Ovenden, Nigel Ovenden, I think his name was, and he introduced the news that night wearing a Spurs tie.
He won't buy us or nothing, then.
No, but he was known as being a Spurs fan. Yeah, he introduced the ABC News, the Australian-wide news, with a Spurs tie on it.
Brad?
What am I talking about? Favourite player?
Any favourite Spurs player? Choose any particular Spurs victory and any particular Spurs goal. Basically.
I've also gone on about Jimmy Greaves, but I have to go on about players that when I was
just say Gary Mabbott, Brad.
Yeah, go at the games and having those people that I have to say Martin Chivers. I think seeing him score goals, and he played for England, scored goals. Obviously, the League Cup final against Villa, which wasn't live in those days. Martin Chivers, and I actually met the guy about 10 years ago. And I actually said to him, "Oh, nice to meet you, Martin. You was one of my favourite players. You were really, really good." He goes, "Yes, I was rather good, wasn't I?" So he's like,
"I've got a story about Chivers because I'm
Martin Chivers. In those sort of players, definitely."
Did you give us the favourite goal though?
Yeah.
Oh, favourite goal. Favourite goal. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the victory.
Oh. I'm trying to go. Okay, this is just totally random. Steven Bergwijn scoring the winner against Leicester City.
That was still a good one. That was
2 goals in the last 3. And I was like,
I like that because
I'm watching it.
City fans were singing, Tottenham Hotspur, it's happening again. And then we got 2 goals, didn't we? To really rub it into them. I loved it.
Jumping around the house going, I can't believe this.
Okay, Steven Bergwijn. He's now playing football in Saudi Arabia.
He is indeed.
Yes.
And
yes,
I'll never pick you again for Holland because you took the money and run. I don't blame him if he won't get him what he wanted.
Now, was it Sean Butler that used to have that game as his opening to his shows when he was live on the Irish Hotspur?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Brian was there when Conte was going berserk.
He was, Brian. I remember. Yes, you were opening. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And do you remember the stewards didn't like our celebrating at that game, did they? They were getting a bit stroppy.
Yeah.
Because one of the players took one of the fans'
someone's hat. Yeah. I mean, it's Lucas Moura, I think. Was it Lucas Moura? I can't remember.
Against Ajax to put us into the Champions League.
Oh.
Yeah. So everyone remembers where they were that night.
Yeah.
Phil, can you think of any? You guys have got to start doing your homework when you come on the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's just a bit of fun. If you can name something, you can. If you can't, you can't. It just brings back memories.
Yeah, the last time I said Luka Modric was my favourite player. Just quality midfielder, everything that we need right now. And the favourite goal, I did say Gareth Bale last time on the volley against Stoke, top bins.
Oh God,
that was quality. But I'm going to say Danny Rose's volley against Arsenal.
Good call. Debut as well on his debut.
Yeah, on his debut, it has to be that for me. And my favourite player, I'd say Berbatov. Berbatov was quality. Out of this world.
Never seen a striker with so much skill.
Yeah, get in there, Mark.
This is that stupid brown shirt that they brought out when it all fell off. Look, the badge is missing.
You will buy the snow ones,
and the Puma bits fell off.
My dear friend Penny, when Berbatov just signed for us, was playing. My dear friend Penny said, "I've come up with this Dimo Berbatov song." She goes into this really elaborate song about Dimo Berbatov. I said, "No, the fans are basically simple people," and myself included. And the very next week, it was Dear Murtar Berbatov, Dear Murtar Berbatov, Dear Murtar Berbatov. I said, "There you go. It's simple, you know."
Alan.
Yes.
A favourite Spurs player, a particular Spurs victory, a particular Spurs goal.
Well, I said it before. Gareth Bale is my favorite player, so definitely Gareth Bale. He's what got me into Tottenham in the first place. My favorite Spurs goal would be the final goal, Lucas Moura's goal against Ajax, getting us into the Champions League final. I remember, again, compared to everybody else in the panel, I'm a newer Tottenham fan. That was one of my favorite moments. I was at work. I remember cheering when everyone else was quiet, so everyone was freaking out, wondering what the hell I was doing.
Hi, Chris.
You're
well, mate.
And what was the other question? So I got Spurs player, Spurs goal,
special goal, and a particular victory.
Particular victory. I don't know. That's a good question. I love all of our victories, so it's difficult to say. I'd have to think about that more.
Okay. Ian? You
Best
must have
player.
loved it. If you remember him. Go on.
No, listen, it's still the same. Hoddle, favourite player. Best goal, Gascoigne free kick at Wembley 91. And for me, the most exciting victory, and it pushes Amsterdam into second place because we won a trophy, was the 81 Cup final.
Right, fine. But what we do is we pick different players, different goals at each game. Right. If I'm going for a favourite player, a lot of guys you won't have seen him play, but I did. He's probably must be nearly 90 now. I'm going for Cliff Jones.
Oh, wow.
Goal. I'm going to go for the goal in a semi-final against Arsenal, which isn't much talked about because Lineker mugged Seaman off. He should have saved that shot, right? And Lineker scored. It sort of went through his arms, didn't he, if you remember?
And Seaman won't be happy about that. That was a commentary, wasn't it?
So, as it is against Arsenal, I'm picking that as a goal. Victory, I've seen so many. Goodness. Yeah. I'm going to go for the 2-1 away when Chivers scored both goals away to Wolves in the 72 UEFA Cup. I'll pick that, right? I could have picked loads, but I'll pick that. Okay. So, I want to thank all you guests. You'll all be welcome again. You'll contribute, vital comments to the debate. It's all good and healthy and mature and sensible, which is what we are, chat. We are a discerning, mature and sensible Spurs group. And we accept all opinions as long as it's done in the right way and no one slags each other off, right? And the same goes for you lot in the chat. Thank you for coming on. I want you in the chat. Thank you all. I want to thank you all for your comments and for helping to make this channel, this fledgling channel grow. It's growing steadily as we go, which is good. I want to thank everyone who will be watching us later on playback as well. We will do a preview on Friday. I know Mark and Ellie may be doing a humorous show on a Monday if they can arrange the guest. They're still trying to sort that out, so that's in the balance at the moment. I may do a Tuesday show if I can think of what we're going to talk about. This international break is an absolute killer. No, it is to get things. I mean, we've done well to get through this, right? I mean, and it's thanks to you lot because I feed off you. When you say things, suddenly I'll get another question. I think, because I like the shows to get to about the 2-hour mark. After about 2.5, a bit long, but because especially when you've got people from different countries watching in different time zone as well. Some come on a bit later. We don't want to shortchange you, and because we're not like that. So thanks to everyone. And I'm going to play you out with the usual, if I can find it.